All right, good evening, everybody. How you doing? We are live Monday night, and appreciate you joining in. We are do a couple quick housekeeping things here, real quick. Make sure everything's working good, and make sure this is working. It's looking good. All right. So, good evening. Today's the big week. We have the A6700 out. Well, announced, not out quite yet, but we're going to get back to that. And I want to revisit some of the specs and everything on that camera tonight and just see what all your guys' thoughts are on it. Is it something that's worth it to you, that you're interested in getting, or do you want to pass on that camera? What are you currently shooting with that would make you want to get the A6700? Or if you're looking at an upgrade, are you interested in this camera right now? So those are the things I'd like to know from you guys. So if you're joining in, hit me up in the comments, let me know. So right now we have some rumors to go through. Let's see what's new. SONY Alpha rumor mill. Then we got a new cameras. Let's see. Laowa has got some new super macro lenses for the E mount. I don't know if you can hear my kids or not, but let's see here. Really nothing new coming out. So the other big exciting piece of news that I think is even better than the A6700 is the new 70-200 f4 Mark II. Now this lens has got some, I'm excited for it. It's going to be an interesting lens to see what it can do. And what I'd like to see from that lens is that it's a one and done lens as far as the carry all. Like, what can you carry with this lens? That's, I'm sorry. I mean, like what having the carryability of this lens in your bag. It's a 70-200, and if you're carrying the 2-time teleconverter, you've got a 400 millimeter lens, but also that it's a 1-to-1 macro with the 2-time teleconverter. So I think it's a huge win for what it is. And one, it's compact. I like having the compact lenses. I've had the 100-400. While I miss not having that lens anymore, I feel that I would benefit from something a little bit smaller. And that 70-200, the original one, is still a phenomenal lens. I mean, some superb photographs I've taken with that lens in the short times I've borrowed it. But what I'd like to see is how well this lens performs, and also if it has the same image quality as the original one, which I'd imagine it does. In this day of age, it should. We've got newer focus motors. I mean, it's the day of the age for this lens, and I'm excited for it. If you can't tell. So definitely a few things we want to look at over on that tonight. And then of course they released a new what do you call it? The new microphone, which those are cool. I think Sony's got some really nice little microphones that they're using, and they can be very useful. I'd like to get one. They're priced so dang high, and I think this little mini one for $350 is, it's a steep build for that little tiny microphone over what's out there in its place. Now, I just think you could get something that would be a little bit better for that kind of money, or even multiple options. You could have wireless microphones and a decent one on top of the camera for that kind of money. So definitely something, it depends on who's using it and what the purposes of it is. I think it's a great option. Now, something I'd like to see them do with those microphones is, one, they need to drop the price on them. To me, they're just too expensive for what they are for, I would think, the target audience. The people that are going to be using real microphones or higher end microphones have no problem paying that kind of money for them. And they won't buy the Sony one. Now, the Sony one's got the advantages because it's It's on the hot shoe. So you're saving your port and you've got the digital feed right into the newer cameras. If you don't have the newer cameras, you still analog into it, but it'll still work. Is it worth it, the $350? I don't think it is. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. What are your thoughts? Let me know. But that's definitely something to consider. And what other thing we want to look at was, I don't think we've got anything really major new happening after the 6700 launch, which is that's all right. We don't have anything. We still got the sale going on. Did it end? I think it ended on the 15th. Oh, and then we got Survey announced 3 new SONY F1.2 E-mount lenses, $309 each. That seems cheap. A 24, a 35, and a 55. Well, those are going to be interesting lenses if you're into the anamorphic look. Oh, we got the version 1.01 for the ZVE1 that came out. What do we got here? Improved stability of the steady shot function. That's about all they gave us. But nonetheless, improvements are improvements. So in today's video, we're gonna dive deep into the A6700 and kind of talk about what it can do. My thoughts on APS-C sensors. Where I'm at with that. That's where I probably would like to start at. And and then I want to also talk about the new lens and get into it. It's a little bit more of a specifications type thing. Now, I've been an APS-C shooter pretty much since I picked up the Sony cameras, especially the mirrorless. Well, exclusively the mirrorless because they didn't have the sensors in the other cameras I was using. But what I mean is, my first camera was the A3000, which is a entry level APS-C camera. They've since done away with that low level entry level cameras. So if you want something like that, you're going to be buying it used for about $100 on eBay. Now, something interesting about that camera is they actually do hold value if you're out on the eBay market for it. And the reason being is that people are converting those to infrared sensors. And I don't know what's entailed with that, but you can send that off and have it converted to shoot infrared. And that's been a good camera body that people have done that with. Now, after the A3000, I picked up I believe it was right into the A6000 from that point. And I also had an A5100. So at the time I had, a 3 camera setup. I had a solid dedicated video camera. It was the PJ790, a really nice HD video camera Sony made right before the 4Ks came out. Kind of wish I still had it for certain things, but it was a nice camera, but it had a lot of nice features in it. But anyways, I got into the A6000, and the A6000 was a phenomenal camera, and to this day I still recommend it because it's just such a capable camera for what it was. And yeah, I feel like I'm talking fast here. The A6000, it really it brought me into this whole world of photography really heavy. I learned a lot on the A3000, getting new lenses and getting into the manual settings of it all. But I really picked it up with the A6000 and realized what you could do with it. Anyways, I got into the A6000 and I got some faster glass, or I had been wanting a 51.8 forever and hadn't gotten it yet. But anyways, I was shooting that camera a lot. I loved how fast it autofocused. I loved the speed of it. I loved just everything about it. I love the form factor of it. And it was a little tiny. I've got big giant hands, as you can see, and the form factor of that A6000 was fantastic. I loved how it just fit in the bag or wherever I was carrying it. It just fit and worked. That part of it I really, really enjoyed. Now, then After the A6000, I had that camera with the A7R2 for quite a while. The A7R2 was definitely my photography first camera, and the A6000, I wanted it to be more video centric. And to me, I wanted a more dedicated video camera. And I'd even dabbled into like the thought of making YouTube videos or doing stuff like that well before I started this channel. And had the PJ790, which I did some work with that, trying to never published anything, but had some interesting videos out there that I recorded of myself. But anyways, the the capabilities of the A6000s were great for speed, and when it came to photography, it was my fast action, better autofocus scenario camera versus the A7R2. But the A7R2 was definitely the image quality king. Now, going forward, I found a deal on an A7S2 and an A6400. I picked those cameras up, and me and Daniel, who's been on the live, if you watch us, we went out and did the Milky Way shoot, and that was the whole thought of making a video for that. And I had the A6400. I wanted to utilize it for video features. I had 4K finally, an APS-C body. Wanted to use those features. So A6400 comes along. I'm ecstatic to have it. I actually used the hell out of that little camera. Started this channel with that camera. Most of all my early videos were shot with that camera, and up until the point I did the A7 III A6400 test, and test wasn't there to. I didn't plan on replacing the A6400 at all, but what had happened was that A7 III was a better camera for video. That's what my conclusion was, and the deal happened to be working out where I was able to get the A7 III and made it happen. I ended up selling the A6400, bought another full frame lens, and it was full frame 100% of the way. And I've been that way since, until just last year, the end of last year, when the FX30 was announced, and I knew that was the camera for me, a full video centric APS-C camera. So that brings us to today. Where do we fit in the world of the A6700? What are your thoughts on this camera? Are you planning on getting it? Do you plan on wanting to upgrade it? I'd love to know your thoughts on it, because right now I feel like it's a fantastic camera. I don't have a little APS-C body camera. If I were to get one, I would definitely be leaning to the A6700. Now, are they going to make a better APS-C camera? I don't know. It's a toss-up whether or not they are. They've said it's not a flagship, from what I've heard. So if it's not a flagship, what's on the horizon? Are we going to see an A6900? Are we going to see an A7000? Are we going to see a camera like that? And that's the big question that I think a lot of people are going to have. And I don't know if people are going to flock to this thing heavily or not, because while it's a fantastic camera, it does nothing really new in my mind that these other cameras aren't already doing. It's got a couple new little button presses, features in them, but nothing massive that we haven't seen yet. And that's why I'm thinking this camera is almost just an upgrade to the modern technology, modern focusing system. Well, yeah, it's got a fantastic AI autofocus system in it, but we've already seen that. There's nothing new in it. So what's around the corner? Are we going to see another APS-C camera? Sony's been making APS-C lenses, but are we going to see something change? Like, are we going to see a bigger, better APS-C camera? So with that being said, A6700 for me, I think it's a fantastic camera. It's going to be a camera I would like to get, but I probably won't buy one new like I did the FX30. I have no problem buying used equipment, and I think that's a good used candidate camera. So you pick it up for maybe, I think right now, if it's a hot seller and people are buying it, we won't see it on the used market for very much. But I'm thinking, $1,100, $1,200, we'd be able to pick one up, and it'd be a great B camera to the FX30. And that's my point number one of why I'd want one, is same sensor, same video features. Basically it's the same camera. why not have it with why not have it in tandem with the FX30? So same sensor band, same image quality. I would think you should have the same picture. Now, I was on a Sony support live broadcast and I asked a question if it had the same color science, and they were not able to answer that question for me. But I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty much an identical camera for video specs, is why it's as far as the FX30 goes, as far as the shot for shot takes. I mean, we're not going to see a big change. So that's my first point of why I'd want that camera, is the matched video quality. Be able to set up two different cameras, the same image. That sounds like a great idea to me. The second reason why I'd want one is I've always liked having a small APS-C camera for photography, and it has a dedicated shutter in it. Now, I haven't even tried with the FX30 to take a picture with it yet, and the FX30 seems a bit cumbersome to navigate between those modes. So the fact that the A6700 has the little flip switch from photo to video, I like that. That's actually a really cool feature, because most of the time it'll probably be in video mode, being a B camera, whether it be an overhead rig or something like that for top-down shots. But having that quick switch mode would be fantastic, because I do notice that I have tried to use the FX30 and trying to switch those video modes to the different modes in the camera can be quite cumbersome at times. And then the last thing that I would like really would get me to go to it is, would it replace my A7R2? Would I be better suited being on a full APS-C line, and would I sell my GM lenses to afford other APS-C glass? And that one's weighed heavily on me, because A7R2, I still love that camera. It's a great camera, and the reason why I won't do it is you can't replace A7R2 for what it is. It's not worth anything. It's not worth selling. I mean, I could maybe sell it and pick up the majority of an A6700, but I'm not gaining anything by doing that. And I'd be losing the full frame functionality. Now, I have 3 full frame lenses. I'm slowly trying to build up my APS-C lens setup here. So, and on all that stuff, I'm going to be buying used. I'm sick of paying the money for this new stuff sometimes, but certain things like the camera body, I plan to keep that FX30 for just about forever. I have no intention to ever get rid of it or move on from it. Even they make a Mark II. I will never be able to beat or surpass what that camera that we're filming on right now is capable of doing. I hope I can get that good someday, but that's something that's definitely going to weigh heavily on a decision. It's just, I have no plans on getting rid of it. And the A6700 would be a great second camera. I miss having my photography bag within a full frame and APS-C, the switch combo. And I would like to upgrade the A7R2 to, like I say, the A7R5, probably more than the A6700. And that's probably where I would spend money if I were to do it, because while the A6700 is everything we don't have in an APS-C camera right now, I still think I would want to gravitate to the full frame. I've already got the lenses. I mean, it's kind of like, are you going backwards or not? There's definitely costs associated with it. And one thing I've learned after having the lenses, like when you start out as a photographer, or say you get into cameras, like more like me, I'm more of a tech geek than I am a camera photographer guy. But the tech side of it, like I love the cameras. Now, I've always had a fascination with cameras and interchangeable lens cameras, and being able to switch them in and out with each other. What I haven't been able to, like, I'm going to say this like good at, because I feel like I take pretty good photographs, but the compositions thing is really hard for me to not grasp, but just I don't even know what I'm saying here. I take a photo, I think it looks good, but is it really good? I don't know. I don't put my work out there. I don't really like show it that much. So it's more of just a hobby for me. Now, getting back to my point, which I think I've totally lost in my mind, is I I feel like there's not a reason to upgrade to the A6700 for me. I'd like to have one like any of the cameras. I'd like to have more cameras, but I don't need it. And while I love my A7R2, it's getting closer and closer every year to needing to be replaced. Now I don't want to replace it. I don't want to get rid of it, but we're gonna have to get upgrade at some point. And I'd like to save some money to do that. Let's see what else. All right, well, let's go ahead and start diving into the A6700 deep dive specs. So we're going to go ahead and share the screen here. So if you've been living under a rock and you don't know about this, Sony recently announced a Alpha 6700 mirrorless camera. It's going to be $13.98 for the body only. As you can see here, it's available pre-order on B&H. And what we want to look at is, I want to go down to specs. So it has an effective 26 megapixel sensor. It is APS-C, has crop factor 1.5, has built-in in-body image stabilization, sensor shift, 5-axis, no ND, and it does video sound stills. Now, one of the things I found was interesting that they only gave it was the 1/8,000th of the second electronic shutter. And I would have figured they would have gave it this 32,000, which I think is a cool shutter speed on the electronic, but they didn't give it to this camera, and I'm curious why they didn't do it. Now it has a mechanical shutter, which is a big plus, especially if you're a hybrid shooter and you want to do video and photos. I think it's a fantastic option for that reason alone. Now, ISO sensitivity of it, we're 100 to 32,000, which is the same as the previous generations, and it is extendable up to 102,000. Now, whether or not you'd ever use that, I don't know why. The low light capabilities of this new sensor is pretty dang good. It's still probably going to be the same dual native ISO as the FX30 is for video, but it gives you the option to go up higher if you need to. And you can get usable results at 32,000. Check out one of my videos I did with the FX30 running it up to that height. Oh, no. I gave me a notification, but nothing happened. So metering, standard metering modes, aperture priority, manual shutter priority, same as any other camera. Exposure is about the same. And white balance 2,500 to 99,000 or 9,900. Now continuous shooting, it gave it the 11 frames per second at 26 megabytes for 59 frames of RAW or 1,000 frames of JPEG. Now, how are they getting 1,000 frames JPEG, but they can't expand the RAW from 59? I mean, 59 is usable, but at 11 frames a second, that's the same spec as the previous A6000 generation. So, again, nothing new. Has the interval recorder built in, which is a big plus. I like that feature. It only gives, that's the only, now I'll tell you this about the specs, is these get updated as the time goes on. These could be totally different tomorrow. It says it only shoots in 3.2, 26, 13, or 6.4 megapixel. You can see they're shrinking the resolution of the sensor, but I'll tell you that they'll probably have all the standard 16:9, the 1x1 options on it, even though they're not listed yet. 14-bit color. Okay, so here's the big news for the A6700 is video capture. It has full 10-bit recording, 422 at 24 frames, 30 frames, 50 frames, 60 seconds, 100 to 120. And it'll also do, where's it at? The external recording up to 60 frames in 4K at 422 10-bit. And you have the XSVSI mode which is 60 frames up to 60 megabytes a second. This is all the same specs as the FX30, guys. Nothing new in this. Now, if you're recording 4K 120, the sensor crop while recording 4K in 16:9 when recorded in slow mo, it crops in an additional like 1.6. So if you're on a, say, a 24 millimeter lens, get my math together here because I cannot think right now. And you put it on a APS-C camera, you're shooting an effective 36 millimeter image space of a full frame camera. It's a little tighter, but then you switch it over to 4K 120, and I think it's about a 1.6 crop, and you're at a 57.5 millimeter. So like me, I like shooting my 85 for 120. So by the time I put it on the camera, my 85 is already a 127.50, and then I'm going to multiply it by a 1.6 again, and I have a 200 millimeter lens on the 85. So I wish they had a way of not doing that. I get it's $2,000 option if you don't. That's what it comes down to. Is the FX3 gives you full frame, 4K full readout, and 4K 120, and it's a $2,000 adder, and I don't think it's worth it. All right, same as Cinetone S-Log3, nothing new for us in this. I mean, it's cool that they gave all the A7. Don't get me wrong, the A6700 is a powerhouse. They gave it all the good bells and whistles. It's a great camera, but there's nothing new. There's absolutely nothing new in this camera that I thought was, oh, this is what you got to have. They get a standard stereo built-in microphone. It's really not worth anything. Audio recording to channel. Okay, so if you are using it for video and you wanted to get into, if you're comparing it to the FX30 again, you're getting a micro HDMI output slot. Nothing, nothing great there. Was there room for it? Probably, but had to cut the corners back somewhere to get, I guess, the $1,400 price point, because what's the point of having it the same price as the FX30? We have a headphone out, microphone input. We have a USB-C input output, and another additional. Oh, I think it's shared power input with UPS-C. I don't think there was two options on this camera. And what I think was one of the letdowns of this whole camera was the articulating screen only being a 1,000,000 dot. And the FX30 at least got a 1.3. While it looked great, I would have liked to have seen them at least give the FX30 screen. I'm surprised they didn't. Again, I think it's just it comes down to where they're going to trim the fat off of it to get the price down and give you best bang for the buck. So I think that's all just. It's all in the build right there. I mean, a better screen, we're at $1,450. But it does have a viewfinder, which is a big plus. Like I said, this is where this camera is going to shine as a photography hybrid camera for video. Is we've got a viewfinder and a mechanical shutter. And anybody looking to do photography and video all in one camera, this is your camera. Way, way, way better for it than the FX30 is. Nothing really new with the 759 phase detected focus. That's all been the same. It does not have a built-in flash. I believe the 6600 didn't either. Unlike the original 6000, I think the 6400 still had the flash. Pretty sure it did. So yeah, nothing new there. Intelligent hot shoe, wireless. Yep, operating temp 104. And they did give the Z battery, which is a fantastic upgrade. Again, it's 6600. They wouldn't have gone backwards on that. What we'd like to see going forward is any of the newer, lower end APS-C cameras, if they plan on replacing them, to get the Z battery. Also, let's just get rid of the W battery. Take it back. I don't want the W battery to go away. They need to put the W battery in the ZV-1. That's where that belongs. Give us a ZV-1 Mark III with a really good W battery in it. All right, so that's it right there. Let's take a look at some of the photos of this thing here. So I mean, a basic APS-C camera, viewfinder on the far left. They moved the record button up to the C1 option button up here, and then move the C1 to the record location. That is a big improvement, I think. Doing that, I approve of that. Let's see what else we got here. So they definitely gave it probably some really good. Okay, can we just stop with this thing going off? I don't know why I'm getting, and then it's gone. All right, sorry about that. The doors definitely seem a lot better. Now I love the A6400 door. It flipped frontwards and gave you it was just a nice clean latch door that I really liked. And when you put it in the cage, it was very well protected. So it looks like we have a forward flip door here on the side of it, and then another forward flip door for the HDMI port and headphone jack. Now that makes sense to me that they did this, because the microphone up here, if you're out shooting and you've got the microphone right here, and maybe say you want to do a power pack or something, or some other accessory, you got your USB-C port right here that will plug into it. So having the door flip up, I think, was a smart move with the screen flipping out. I even find that on the FX30, both doors flip forward. While I love the doors on the FX30, they don't rattle, don't move around. Flipping forward there seems to like be, it's not in the way, but it's for the microphone, it's down. And the microphone's up top. It's the USB-C port that I'm in right now, where it'll stick out of the screen a little bit. So I think it's a good spot. Now I don't think I'll be able to get the 90-degree angled adapter in this one with like I do this one. This one's pretty clean, but again, compact body gives you that. And then down at the bottom, this is basically like, okay, you've mounted a monitor to it and you want to output to HDMI and where your headphones. This is all on one door here. Another good option. And one thing nice about this is that it allows you to leave the SD card slot door closed while you're running those two devices. Yeah, that way you don't have to worry about that or anything there. We've got, let's see, battery. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go through the other photographs of it, but this little switch right here, this is, I think, is a great addition to this. Also, is we've got the photo, video, and S&Q mode dial, rocker dial. I really do wish that they gave it something like this on the FX30, just because I've tried to go into the photo mode and it's cumbersome to just get in there. And so this is, I think, is a welcome feature. It also gives you, I'm assuming it separates the camera out to have the 1, 2, and 3 options throughout that will change between different modes. One thing I didn't notice on any of these photos is whether or not they're running a tally light. I don't think it has any tally lights. So again, photo first. I imagine the screen lights up red when you hit record. I haven't watched a ton of videos on this thing yet, just because I've been trying to just build my own opinion on it. Since I'm not fortunate enough to get a copy of it to test out. I'm just trying to look at what it is, and spec wise what we're looking at. All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about, let's hop over and let's look at the new 70-200. This thing is one thing that I am definitely excited for. It's this new Sony, and the reason why. What we got here? Cooley's in the house. What's up, made it? Dogs are not going with the plan. Yeah, they never do, man. So, I'll throw this up here for you in case you're wanting to. Where is it at? Oh, there it is. Invite. Yeah, if you want to join in, you're more than welcome to, Cooley. All right, so the SONY A200 f4 macro Mark II lens. So the macro is new on this thing. The original SONY A200. Oh, you know what? There was a picture of it. Let's go up to it real quick. Get back to that first spot I was at. It was a side by side comparison photo. Come on, where are you at? Page one. There we go. Pretty sure it was in here. Yes, there we go. All right, I'm going to share this. This is again off of Sony Alpha Rumors. All right, so this is the original SONY A200 f4 lens, and I've shot this lens, and it's blown me away with how sharp it is, especially paired with my R2. But the other thing that blows me away with is it looks rather large here in this photo, and it just isn't. It's a very compact, short little lens, and the fact that they made the new one even shorter is impressive. Now they did that with the trade-off of this is a fixed lens. It doesn't telescope in or out, which was also a very nice feature of this lens. Whereas the new lens, of course, we got the barrel that pulls out of the lens there when you zoom it. Now, I would personally, I'll take the more compact lens to pack and have the barrel extend for most stuff I've come across and what I wanted, especially after having the 100-400. It's nice having that compactness in the bundle and having it extend to get the length. And that's, I want to get the 200-600, but it's a fixed lens, and it's a long lens. So what is special about this lens is I think it's compatible with the what do you call it, the teleconverters, which is important because pretty much every white lens that Sony's come out with is compatible with their teleconverters, except for this original one. I don't think it was, and it was just before its time. Now they're saying this has a 0.5 macro capability at a very short focal distance. I think it's like, well, let's go ahead and dive into the specs of this thing. Yeah, it's a 0.5 maximum magnification, and I don't tell you too much here. Minimum 10 inches. I mean, that's pretty dang good. So, but what's even more impressive is it goes to the full 1.1-to-1 magnification at with the 2-time teleconverter on it. So to me, that's another no-brainer of like one lens, carry a little teleconverter with it, or carry it on it for that matter, because you have a 140-400, which would be perfect, and it'd probably be running an f8. I think maybe it's f11 with the 2-time converter. I can't remember, but either way, I mean, my 100-400, I pretty much lived at f8 to f11, especially shooting birds, just to get the whole bird in focus. And I think it's a great option that they've come up with, because this lens here, we've got the macro capability, and be able to switch it into that macro mode just seems to make perfect sense. So very excited about that. Let's take a look at the lens elements here. We got some ED extra low dispersion glass. I mean, basically this is all GM glass in here, It's probably a GM lens just branded to what do you call it? Be the G lens like they did with so many others. It's all GM quality with the different badge. That's what I get from it. You take the two different lenses apart, they feel the same, they look the same. I mean, you've got some optical qualities maybe, but now I'd be more apt to spend the $1,600 on this than buy a new camera right now. I'd be very interested in buying this and picking up the new 24 to or 20 to 70 and selling the 24-105. That's not a bad idea. So yeah, it's got 4, is that high torque or something, linear motors for focusing, just a good clean setup, weather sealing images. So another cool feature this thing's got in it, they didn't really show you, but here it doesn't have the band on it for the tripod foot. It unclasps. So not only does it screw to loose in here, but you could unclasp it. Let me see, where's that photo of the clasp? Right here, there's like a hinge lock that it unhinges from the lens. So you could essentially leave this on the tripod foot, on your tripod, and pop it off. Now, I know it's the same as having a different tripod foot, but I know in my case it's a little different. But I think that's a cool feature. That's a cool idea. You're curious if the knob is the same cheap plastic knob that'll strip out, like my 100-400 did. Like I said, I have a fix for that. If you're interested, check out my video on that, where I replaced it with the Sony replacement that is actually a metal knob. So let me see here where we're at. All right. Well, I'm picking up some buzz here. Let me know if you can hear that buzz in there. I'm not sure if it's in the back end. I can hear it, but hopefully it's not bothering anybody. If it is, I'll try to figure out what it is. But yeah, this little lens here, it's $1,700. It's a pricey son of a gun, but it's, I think, going to be worth it. I really do. I'd like to try to pick one of these up, figure it out, and I think this paired with the new 20 to 70 would be a great little combo setup. A little smaller than 20 to 70. A buddy of mine at work has one. It's a little bit smaller than, of course, the 24-105 is, and then of course this is probably every bit the size of a 24-105. I wish that people, if you've seen it next to this lens and you realize how short this lens actually is and how small it is, this is probably in the neighborhood of a 24-105. Let's see if we can actually compare it. Yeah, it's only an f4. That's okay, cool. Yeah. So it's only an f4. Yes, it's only f4, but it's compact. I really think. All right, comparing this thing to 24-105 f4, it's probably about the same diameter. I would say the flange is a little bit longer. Let's see here. Can I do this the other way? There we go. This is probably a little shorter than it. But I swear to God, the last time I held the original Mark I, I don't think it's probably sits like that in your hand. It's small. It doesn't feel like a big massive lens, and it just packs up small. And of course, it doesn't telescope in or out like these do. but the new one does. But of all everything, I want one. I think I would sell or get rid of the 24-105 and pick up a 20-70 F4 and this 7200. The 2.8 stuff's nice. And they're making it nicer. Especially the new 24-70 GM, the 2.8 lens. It's way light. It's no bigger than probably this one, other than it's got the 82mm filter thread on it. It looks nice. I'm happy. I don't know if you saw this, but it's a macro also. So if it's got a 0.5 magnification at 10 with a 10-inch, I think. Yeah, 10.2-inch minimum focus distance. But if you run the 2-time teleconverter, it becomes a 1-to-1 macro. So a 140 to 400. I want to say it goes to an F11 though. That's the only downside to that 2-time teleconverter. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. I think it tells us here. Yeah, it's 2 stops. So what's that be? F8? I think it's an F8 if it goes down to it. What's up, Cooley? What do you if you're in the room, man, what you got going on this evening? Oh, that's the other thing I want to look at. So what's this new lens weigh? I think it's rather light. $1.7 pounds. There we are. Everybody, please welcome Cooley.
Let me start feeling like Elvis. Well, hey, I just got back from my escapades to the upper UP in Michigan. That was interesting. I don't know. I think on this trip I overplanned. If such thing as overplanning.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. And then, the wife's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's go do this. And it's like, you want to go set up a tripod, maybe shoot some HDR, all that stuff. And she's, I don't want to hang around that long. It's bad enough sometimes you start talking the photo to your wife, and she it's like, what was that one where they hear him say wah 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 wah
the peanuts.
Wah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I got some nice waterfall stuff,
and
then
cool.
I got buddy of mine has a pontoon boat, so we went out in a pontoon boat I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and ended up getting some nice shots of some loons, the birds,
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and like it was almost like immaculate conception. We're just trucking along real slow because we're doing a little fishing and a little shooting at the same time, multitasking.
Right.
And an eagle lands at the top of this tree. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. And then with my Nikons, you can do the, I think it's a 1.5 sensor conversion.
So you put it in the crop mode. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put it in that and I had it like an idiot. I didn't bring. I had it with me, but I didn't bring it with me. I've got a 300 millimeter f4.
Okay, nice.
So like yeah, like a knucklehead. I was like, I was just gonna putz around a little bit and do the whole shoot stuff. I got some really neat reflections of logs in the still water and stuff. That kind of stuff. And the eagle stuff, I think I haven't really played with it yet, but I think it's going to come out pretty cool. But I didn't realize that loons have red eyes, man.
Yeah,
They're like demon birds.
they're crazy looking.
I know, but I mean, you pretty much put the boat like right here, and here's the loon. So I just cropped in and blasted away. It
Yeah,
was pretty cool. It was fun. It was just kind of nice to get away and kind of chill a little bit.
right. Yeah, yeah. I left for. I went to Dallas last weekend, not this
That's
last week,
cool.
but the week before last, to meet up with my cousin who I hadn't seen in probably about 28 years.
Oh
But
wow.
uh, I decided that I'm going to get there really early, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go try to get a skyline sunrise
Oh yeah.
in Dallas. So, uh, got up early, drove. I'm 5 hours from Dallas, so I drove in Friday night, got a room just outside of town, and then I woke up really early that morning. I wanted to go explore Fort Worth because I wanted to go do some street photography in Fort Worth because Fort Worth's got some really cool stuff. But I had never been down there, so I just wanted to go kind of lay eyes on it and check it out. And found a couple little iconic spots, and but then went into Dallas to get my sunrise shot. That was my mission, and I found the spot I needed to set up at and got it all set up. And it worked out. It didn't get the fire that I was really hoping for because I had the band in the horizon where the clouds weren't there, and I thought, man, if that sun comes through there, and I had the perfect just clouds above the skyline just to light it
Mhm.
up on fire, and it just didn't pan out that way. But
You know,
eventually,
now with Luminar Neo, man, you can just whatever sky you want, you can put right in there. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
scary.
Here, let's see. I got it. I have it in Luminar here. Where did my Luminar go?
So do you have Neo or do you have? See, I have Luminar 3, Luminar 4, and then I think I'm just gonna grab Luminar the Luminar Neo. So I don't know. I just don't see a huge difference between the 4 and the Neo, but
That was that. Um, I've been playing with Luminar Neo because they reached out to me and actually shared it with me to look at,
cool.
and it's a cool program. I like it, and I'm not a huge like editor buff. Like I can't sit for hours in Photoshop messing with an image.
Yeah.
It's just not what I like doing. But um, here is this shot. Is it loading? There it goes. It's finally loaded in there.
Ooh,
So
cool
that's
sky.
that's what I got that morning. It's not bad. I was
Yeah.
just hoping for a fire on the sky, especially because I've never seen the tall building blue before. Everything is usually
Yes.
orange or green. So I thought, man, a blue building and fire in the sky is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's got some cool features in it. I don't know if you want to see anything. I'd be happy to show it around to you. But it's I like the noiseless. I like super sharp. They do work and they have their place. They don't over. They can ruin an image really quick though too.
Mhm.
Um, they definitely. Um, so let me put that back up there actually
I know,
here.
like the editing stuff for like skin and
Hmm.
eyes and eyebrows and stuff. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, see, I haven't messed with any of that just because I'm not a people. I don't photograph people very often, so I haven't messed with any of that. But I, the retouch tools, the AI, that's pretty dang good. The noiseless, like let me go in here and let's open up one I didn't edit. Let's see here. Um, this one looks
Cool.
pretty good.
That's a cool bridge, though.
Yeah, it's got. So like, let me just go in. Let me edit this here. And let's just throw noiseless at it. And I was shooting ISO 100, so the images are pretty clean, but it does smooth it out just a little bit. The touch of a button. I mean, it's no different than running the slider uh, with it. Let it render in here. This, and then I can preview it. So there's with the noise. I don't know if you can see it in the image or not, and without. So very minimal adjustment. It's not needed on a global scale. Looking at the whole image, you got to really pixel peep to see it on these images. I've got other images that I've done in the past that it definitely helps a lot with, especially when you're shooting the ISO 5000 or something.
So what ISO were you shooting?
This is long exposure 100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had see, this was shot at f11 for 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I found sometimes when I'll do like I went out around Christmas time and did in Crown Point they have the courthouse and they like totally deck it out for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I go out there like I figured out when the moon was rising and it's because it was a full moon. So I kind of used that light, and then I basically shot the using some of the moonlight, and then the streets are pretty well lit too. And it starts snowing, and I posted it, and everybody went nuts over it. And I'm thinking, and to me, it's like, it's not a bad image, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that does this, but I see stuff and go, should have done this, then that, then that, then that, then that. There's like 47 things later you figure you should have done different. You know what I mean? But
so like here's an image that was shot at 5000.
Okay, that's not bad noise for 5,000 though.
No, it's a pretty clean image still. But let's just jump in here and I'll just show you
now you're shooting full frame.
Yes, this is full frame, 85 millimeter,
like 1.8 or something like that, or
2.8. It's on my 1.4 lens, but I was shooting at 2.8.
Oh, okay.
Because I was trying to make sure I stopped everything best I could and got decent images, but
decent depth of field too.
Yeah, let me get that. It kind of gives you the advice. I don't know. I haven't been with the older versions of Luminar. All I have is Neo. So like it does a good job up close. Like here's the after, and then you go look at first. We lose a little bit of I think the detail, but it takes away a lot of that coloring of the noise.
Oh, okay.
And of course you can set it manually there, but coming back on the whole image, it's you see like originally like in his arm, you can see you lose detail. I don't know how well this is going to show up. Let me zoom in on his arm a little bit. So,
well, the ring looks pretty tight. The bracelet looks pretty tight. Doesn't look bad.
Yeah, so it's denoised and then without it, and you see it just really fixes skin coloring a lot.
Yeah,
even in the neck of the guitar, you can see. There's noise, and then it smooths out the black a little bit. So it does a decent.
Doesn't that drive you nuts though? You go to these places like venues and shoot stuff like concerts, and why can't they just have kind of like white light? I mean, I don't know. Oh, it's purple. Oh, that's gonna add so much to the music. Oh, no, anyway.
Yeah. But the other one I like, especially with this camera, is the super sharp. So let's just throw middle on it and see what it does.
I like the wiggly lines, are kind of cool.
Yeah, you can go in and move them around too.
Ooh.
This one's taking a minute. Jeez. Okay, so this one, it went too much. So you see how like you get a lot of like weirdness in his skin on his face
Although if
compared
he's
to
too much, it looks like he's been sweating.
yeah, pulling like detail shots of the guitar though. You see how much improvement it did there.
Huh.
But like I said, you really have to get in and start really pixel peeping to see the big changes of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it here on my screen and my monitor, which isn't a great monitor either. And I doubt the feed is showing anything worthwhile, but there's a considerable difference in the neck of the guitar and the strings.
Yeah.
Like the strings pop more, but it does okay with that stuff. And I found it worked well on a lot of the images I did end up, editing to keep. And like this is one I did. Take a second to render in. My MacBook's getting loaded up. Stopped running so damn good. There we go. But it does a really good job as far as the AI and like the cropping, the relighting. Like, let's see here. Like darken up the dark background. You see it's cropping around his hair really well.
Huh.
For that relight. And it's atmospheric as far as like it's shining on the back of his head. If it was brighter, So I thought it does a pretty dang good job with that. Pop
That's
out of
pretty
here.
cool.
So yeah, I mean it does all right with that stuff. But I mean, like I said, I got an affiliate link for it. If you're interested in wanting to try it, you can use that.
Okay. Huh.
But I'm, as far as like for me, I like it, and it was interesting because they gave you some data on it, and it said it's, primarily like the users are over 50, and or more of a hobbyist, which is what the program's for. It's for a hobbyist,
Yeah.
I think. I mean, if I was a full-fledged professional, I'd still be using Photoshop. I wouldn't be diving into.
Well, I use my Lightroom and my Photoshop some. A lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know. Maybe because I kind of really weird about my exposures. I kind of hit the exposures pretty decent. And then honestly, as far as a monitor, I'm using just a Roku TV, like a 50-inch Roku TV with an HDMI output. And I've got like a 13-inch white printer.
Mm-hmm.
And I print, and I look at the stuff, and I color correct, do all that stuff in Lightroom, send it to my printer, and it looks awesome. I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting really lucky. I don't know, but
if it works, it works. I mean,
I know.
I have a big problem. Like if I'm editing or color grading video, I have to use my MacBook monitor to do that for the right color, because if I have a 65-inch that I edit on that's across the room, so I'll sit there and it's a 4K. I can spread out my whole timeline. I can see all the detail and data on the screen. And but a problem I have is that the color is just even though it's not a cheap Sony, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's really good monitor.
Sony and cheap have never been used together in the same sentence.
They have their moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, needless to say, I don't ever find it myself. I'm always finding the expensive stuff. But no, it's one of their high-end XPRs, but it's still an 8-year-old monitor or TV. But it's movies, everything looks fantastic on it. But when I was editing, I found my color is way, way off. Now I don't know if it's because I'm using a MacBook preset or the Mac Color Science preset in my edit. And that's throwing it off or what. But if I edit and color on that and I put it up in YouTube or put it to watch, I'm like, whoa, what happened to it? It doesn't look right at all. So I have to edit on my coloring on the monitor here to get my color right. Anywhere else, editing photos, that doesn't bother me. But
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I got back from a vacation. Dog got sick. We had to take him to the vet, and
oh
they had
man,
to do surgery on his stomach to see if he had like a blockage in the intestine.
mm,
Turned out he didn't. $2,500 later,
yeah, right,
it's like, oh, it's like, man, am I in the wrong business?
yeah,
You know? And it turned out they
yeah.
didn't find anything. So, so technically, shouldn't you not have to pay for it if they didn't find anything wrong? I don't know.
That's the way the car industry works usually.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to look at it. There's nothing wrong with it. We're still going to charge you $600 some dollars.
Yeah, it's sickening. What I hate is when you go to the doctor and they're like the urgent care say, and they ask you if is it cash or insurance. You say, oh, I got insurance, so they hand you the insurance bill, but it's cheaper to tell them it's cash and pay the cash out of pocket right there than for the whole visit. And if
Ain't
you
it?
pile it to the insurance, because then you got to pay your copay, and then in 3 months you get a bill for more than the cash payment would have been, and that's what drives me crazy is just stuff like that. When my daughter was first born, she was getting her first rounds of vaccines, and there was a period of time where I had just changed jobs, and she wasn't going to have insurance, and it was like a 3 month window. I'm like, if something happens, I'm going to pay cash for it, whatever, you know. You can't not help her if something happens. So I had a 3 month
Yeah.
window where we didn't have insurance on, but during that 3 months window, her vaccines came up, so we had to have her vaccines done, and
$1 billion
we told
later.
we told them. I said, "Hey, this is gonna be cash, and they're okay, yeah, no problem." Well, when the nurse comes in with the vaccines to administer them, she's like, "Okay, just to verify, this is on insurance, right?" And I'm like, "No, we're paying cash." And she's like, "Oh, well, hold on, I have a whole different set I have to bring in." So she had to take those out of the room and bring in a different set, same stuff, but came from a different
Oh,
bank, basically, and they charge it differently.
okay.
So I paid $100 for these vaccines, and the ones that the insurance was going to pay for, we're going to pay like $700-800 for.
Oh,
That's what I hate about the damn
I
insurance
don't know.
scam.
The medical system is so screwed up. Uh, just from personal observation, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, stay healthy long enough. You won't have to mess with it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, ain't it? Get the ultimate sick and just die. It's cheaper that
Yeah.
way. Not to sound morbid, but
No. Give me a fast punch out. I don't need to sit there and suffer.
yeah, I want to go out in the saddle. Anyway,
Yeah. So, but
but yeah. So get this. So I don't know. This was probably my own stupidity. Amazon had a camera bag slash backpack roller on sale, $175, and it was actually I mean, I actually got I usually my other bag I got a Vagabond, which is it's about a $500 some dollar case, and I mean I can put three I can put three full frame Nikon camera bodies with the grip on them in my camera bag.
wow.
Okay, and two of them I can have the lenses on them. It's that much room, and I think it'll
Yeah.
hold up to 8 or 9 lenses. Well, the weird part is I put less stuff in there. It doesn't seem that heavy in that bag. I put it in this littler one, and it's like, man, I could have used that bad boy as an anchor and stopped that boat when I was out on that pontoon boat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, and I said, well, I'll do a little backpacking and throw my camera stuff in there, and we'll walk and do some fall pictures and stuff like that, or waterfall pictures. And I'm putting my back there. I'm like, holy crap! I should go in the Marines and train with this thing in my back. Um, and then, yeah, I have a bad habit of basically taking a lot more stuff than I really need. You know, but I don't know. It'd make a nice second bag for something. I think about doing ink all my cameras on it and put my I've got a bunch of 8200s and I got the triggers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
actually, I mean everybody's going nuts over this 8300, but anything I need to do, I mean, yeah, and I have four 8600s that I kind of use for studio stuff.
Right.
Then I've got four, no, six. I got six of the 8200s, and of course you can change the head from a Fresnel head to a bare bulb head and stuff. And I got two of they're AB2s. So what you can do is you can take the two 200-watt flashes, connect it to the back of that, put the flash tubes in there, and you have a 400-watt second flash. So like if you're on location and although it just cracks me up. If he says, "Oh, I can take this flash and match bright direct sunlight," and I says, "I'm thinking to myself, you. I mean, you know, me being judgmental, I guess. I go, who in the heck is going to photograph something in bright direct sunlight? Let's look for open shade, and that's what I always did it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's easier to match the ambient to the flash and all that stuff and everything.
Right.
But anyway, my soapbox. But
Well, I have the same bag I bought originally. That's an older Think Tank. Uh,
yeah,
I've had it a number of years now, but on Think Tank's part, it's never had one problem, and it's carried a lot of weight over the years and a lot of abuse from daily carry because it was my
yeah,
daily carry to carry through it in the truck every day, and it's held up great. So,
yeah.
like the bag for that. But the I think my breaking point for the weight was on a trip we hiked into what do you call it, the Carlsbad Caverns,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've ever been there, but
Yeah. I,
you go down
I can,
quite a ways into those caverns, and I had my whole kit. I had everything in that bag, and it's like
it looked like
it
you
got
run away from home. I've done
yeah,
that.
it because I was traveling, so I had everything with me. But it was that moment I realized, okay, I need to pick something to carry and just use it, and
Well, here's the thing. So I
not
put
have
all
the
the
options of
cameras
all
in
the
there.
different lenses.
I put all I had like three full frame camera bodies, two with lenses on it. I only use like one camera with a. I've got a Sigma Art that's a 28 to 105. It's a
Hmm.
2.8. So that's kind of like the general camera, and then I've got an 7200 2.8 that I keep on the other body. And all I did was carry those. I didn't even like take something to myself. Why the heck did I put myself through all this packing and making sure when I mean, I believe me, I had plenty of batteries to back up my batteries. Let me tell you, uh, I got probably run the town I was in for a couple of weeks on with the batteries I had that dumb bag. But but
Yeah,
I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, fun, fun, fun.
yeah. Well, that's definitely been my experience with it. It's just I'm done with the wait, and
I'm,
you know,
I'm,
it,
I'm
it's
just like I'm not really. It's not much as the weight is. I just want something with wheels. you know,
right.
like roll stuff around.
Well, we ended up hiking into some areas around here that to get up to spots, and yeah, I definitely got to carry what I plan. Now, the tricky part is because I'm trying to do YouTube and make YouTube videos, I'm carrying for that too. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I
I've
thought
got
I had a bed.
I have my camera I'm using to stream with the FX30, which is a full little cinema camera, and then
Yeah,
a lens for it, and then you got to carry a tripod for it because you're going to be in front of the damn thing. And then
yeah.
I'll usually carry my little pocket, ZV-1, the little pocket camera, and set it up somehow, some way to where it's filming another angle, and
Hmm.
and then you got microphones you got to pack in. I mean, there's just like so much work to
And
do a
everything has
video.
batteries. Yeah,
Everything's got batteries, and everything's and then I if it's nighttime, I'll usually carry my rotor lights because I've got three of those, and I have a backpack just for all that to pack into. And when that's all
Have you
packed in
shot
there,
any portraits with those road lights at all?
no, mine are old ones. They're the just the glow neos, the neo. I think they're the first generation neo, so they don't do the flash. And I've wanted to upgrade to I think it's the AOS they have that has or I think even the new Neo 2 or the Neo 3. Well, I don't know. I stopped buying them a long time ago, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm using them right now to light with me,
Mm-hmm.
and they work great for video. But the newer ones that do that LED flash off the camera, where you can shoot 30 frames a second with flash if you wanted,
Oh wow.
are pretty impressive. So that part of it, they're nice. I would definitely be, I'd buy an 8600 or 8200 just to have a regular flash. But
Uh-huh.
the if I was really serious into flash photography with people, I would be looking at an AOS or one of their newer ones because they have that flash capability on them now,
Yeah.
um, and they shoot the high frame rate. So if your subject's moving, dancing, or whatever, you got a flash perfect every shot you take.
Oh wow. Huh.
So that part of it's kind of cool. But I like them because the only thing I don't like is they run off 6 double A's each, which is excessive. Now
Yeah.
they are AC powered. Like I have them in a cheap soft box right now in a homemade bracket that holds all 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I light my studio because 90% of the time it's just set up in there. I don't have to move it. Now I do want to eventually buy an actual studio light with a proper mount and diffuser, but for now that's what I've got and that's what I use. But if I do a night shoot or I go out and photograph night scenery and I want to put light into it, I'll usually run these things at like 1% light on long exposure, and it turns things to daylight.
Huh.
Um, so I'll place them around the landscape and then go out and just have them glowing at 1%, which is almost
Yeah.
nothing to the naked eye. But on
Huh.
like a 20-second exposure on 1.4, I mean, it's like daytime, whatever you're lighting up. It works pretty good.
That's pretty cool.
Let's see, I'm trying to think if I have a photo I
Boy.
can show you I did with it. I know where I can go. Where's it at here? Um, find it.
Like this.
Yeah, here it is. All right. There we go. So,
That's kind of cool. I like the sky.
yeah, I was trying to get a Milky Way shot, and it's hiding up in there. Um, but this is a ranch that I have access to out here in Texas. That's got this creek that runs down on the on the ground here, and then there's like this 50-foot rock wall.
Oh wow.
And what I do is I place the neos down behind the trees, all the way down um, the rock wall there, and that's
Mhm.
at 1% output.
Oh wow.
So, like, if let me see if I got a shot of me looking down the wall.
So go up as aliens.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm out there placing them, and you can see that it's you can see they're putting light out on the wall, but it's very minimal out there.
Uh-huh.
And but yeah, long exposure with these little things.
Those are cool.
Let's see if I can get it. Yeah, hiding in the tree there.
Now, if we see Bigfoot walk by, we know something's going on here.
But yeah, I mean, very very dark. Um, let's see what we get here. Yeah, I've got to get back again, to try this shot again because I've got to get it. I've wanted this shot for a long time, and I can only shoot it in I think it's August when the Milky Way's vertical
Oh, okay.
out here. I get down there and yeah, you can see it up there,
That's pretty cool.
but the clouds just weren't cooperating that night. They were just in there, and then the other way, I was clear skies. Didn't have any problems looking the other way. Um,
That's another annoying thing. There's so much haze from those goofy wildfires in Canada
oh
that
yeah, up north.
it's weird. I don't know. You think
Yeah,
after
we
a
get
while
some
that burned out already, you know?
right, but yeah, this is basically the shot I ended up with, and then I did a composite with another Milky Way shot that I've shot in the past.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
the image I'm going for essentially, but I got to capture it naturally. I don't like composites,
Oh, okay. Eh,
so um, yeah, that's I've got one of my tasks. I'm gonna try to do it maybe this year again. Um, I'm gonna try to get down to the Terlingua Big Bend area this August actually to do some nighttime stuff because the skies are just so dark down there. They're so far away from anything. I don't know if you ever look at those dark sky maps.
yeah.
I mean, that whole lower part of Texas is just black. But
I can't believe how much rain Vermont got there. Jeez. 8 inches in 3 hours? Oy.
yeah, that's crazy.
Rain like that, you're thinking, time to build that Noah's Ark.
No, it's
Anyway, yeah, but yeah, so had fun, got to unwind a little bit, That was cool. Wasn't a bad drive, like
yeah.
7 hours, something like that, I think it was.
Did you say I haven't gone through any of the photos you took yet?
Not really. I mean, I still got some other stuff I got left over from before I left. I got to get done. I got some portraits I did of some politician stuff. I got to take care of. Like I did it on Thursday evening. Friday we left to go to Upper UP. Um, so now I just got to catch up, and which is not gonna be a problem. I get caught up pretty quick. I mean, it's nothing like major intensive as far as editing the images and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I picked. I was. It was kind of fun how it worked out. I was like about a week or two before I was surfing. I couldn't sleep at night on Amazon. I found a 10 by 20 abstract background muslin that was like 40 some dollars.
Oh wow.
So I said, okay. So, and then and they go, whoa, we have it to you the next day. I'm like, whoa. So next day, boom, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There it was on my doorstep. I'm
Yep.
like, this is just way too easy. This is not good to my credit card. you know. But like, I think I'm going to end up doing with that bag I had, that new one I bought is if I don't. I think I need to get a little better at my packing because it's like carrying like 3 cement blocks on your back. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So anyway, but and just convert over to put my 8200s in it and stuff. Yeah, because I picked up, believe it or not, I picked up a excuse me. They had a it's called a Seahorse SE 920. I think. Don't eat peanuts, trust me. Anyway, and so I got that, and my 8200s fit in that pretty nice because I wanted something a little more compact. I was using an old camera bag from before, and it worked, but it had so many layers. It was like anytime I was trying to set some up, I was like, do this layer, this layer. Oh, here's that. You know, that layer, that layer. Oh, here's that. You know, and it was driving me nuts. Like people just kind of, there it is, grab it, grab it, grab it, kind of thing, get set up fast. And and it had like the shell already in it with the dividers and stuff
Right.
already in it. And but the trouble is, they don't realize that you don't. There's this one real long one that everything kind of plugs into, in the down the middle, and then they got these little like slats that go this way. Well, the 8200s, they go in there. Was it vertical, and there's really no way because I kind of wanted to do them horizontal where I just basically have them like laid out like flat
Right.
across.
Right.
But with that middle divider like it is, you can't do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Go for anyway.
Yeah, 'cause
Best
I have
of
a bit.
friends, huh?
I have another ThinkTank bag that I picked up secondhand that is designed for like a big giant DSLR with a 400 on it or something,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's a nice big bag. It's got a big giant laptop sleeve on the back side of it, but
yeah,
I use it for the lights when I travel because
yeah,
the sides are so narrow of this bag because it's designed to have this one big giant lens in the middle. The one half of it fits two of my lights perfectly, like the right height, everything. So I'm
yeah,
like, well, that works. And then I shove the third one in, and then the center section holds two of my little tripods I have. I bought these little cheap $30 Manfrotto tripods that fold
yeah,
up really small, and it fits in there in those spots, and they hold the lights out, wherever I'm
uh-huh,
at. So I can hold the light and position them however on those tripods, and so the bag works perfect for my lights, but it's overkill for what the lights are. I mean, the lights aren't
yeah,
necessarily
yeah,
cheap, but it's just it works. It gets me by, and it's easy to carry and carry everything in. But then I have room also for all the extras, little knickknack stuff that I carry, especially doing YouTube videos like microphones or whatever. It all fits in there with the lights. So that part of it works really good. And then yeah, I've been wanting to get a new just daily camera bag, and I don't know which one I want to get, and I haven't really been shopping too much for them. But
yeah, yeah. I
I
don't know,
want
dude.
something. I want something that's big that I can kind of pack into also, um, or hiking purpose likewise. Because like I said, the times I've been carrying my little bag, it has just enough space for all the camera gear, but no space for anything else. And I want to be able to carry like water or some food or whatever else I need to carry up into the mountains or wherever I'm going to do
Yeah,
like nighttime stuff. And I want to be able to just carry a little extra with me on one backpack. So I think I'm going to look for something more purpose built for hiking with photography
hmm,
um, than just a camera bag. But I really like the Peter McKinnon nomadic bag. My buddy's
yeah,
got one, and it works really good. He's got both of them actually, but he's got the bigger one, and it's got the top sleeve where you can hold all your clothes and stuff in it. Well, that's great if you're 5'5", but my clothes, one pair of jeans for me is like 3 days worth of clothes for everybody else. you know,
I hear you. Believe me, I
all
hear
the
you.
clothes are much bigger and they don't pack down as small. So it's like, yeah, I need something else for that.
Yeah,
So that part of it kind of sucks, but it's a nice bag. The quality's really nice on it. It's they are nice bags, so be able to see it and hold it and feel it. And he loves it. He loves the way it wears and how comfortable it is to wear. So
Yeah.
But
I mean, this bag I got, it's comfortable. It's just, I don't know. It was just, and like that's the weight thing's my fault. But I mean, you can put a lot of stuff in it, but unfortunately, boy, it gets heavy when you put stuff in it. You know. And of
mhm.
course, Nikon's. I don't think they you would. I don't think they ever in the same sense you ever used Light and Nikon. You know, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, there's one thing that's be certain: there's always be a new camera bag coming out, something new to try or
Yeah.
something to find. There's definitely no shortage of that happening out there in the world.
And yeah. And I kicked myself because I could have just basically used my my vagabond and just put it in, because what I ended up doing was I always put my camera bag, my tripod on the in the back seat behind me, so I can kind of, if I see something on the side of the road I want to take a shot of.
Oh yeah, it's got to be like right there.
Yeah, yeah, kind of thing. Anyway, but
Yeah, yeah, definitely done that. Where it's well, I have a little. Well, I still own a regular cab little Ford truck, but my work truck was a little regular cab Ford truck that was mine to use when they give it to me. And
um,
but there's like the slot right behind because it's a regular cab. There's no back seat or no back doors. The slot right behind where the big center armrest folds down for the middle seat.
yeah.
It's camera bag sized. It's just right there.
Oh, there
Doesn't
you
go
go.
anywhere. It's perfect. And then same thing. And I have an older F-150 that's a regular cab that I bought personally. That the same thing. It's a much larger space. I can hold all the
Yeah.
bags back there, but that one right there, pull up on the armrest, open it up, cameras out. And yeah, I so so in all your years, have you ever had a problem transporting a camera and having problems with it, the vibration or hauling it or doing anything where it wasn't safe in a bag? Because to me, I've carried them on the tank bag motorcycles off roading and I've never had a problem.
Okay.
So
Well,
where
I've never had a problem with that though. I mean,
yeah.
everything fits in perfect, because I put everything in and move the slots to make sure it's braced and kind of held in
Well,
place.
even but what I'm saying is I've had people out there say I don't want to take my camera on these roads out here because it's just too violent and too bumpy. I'm like, I, even if it's packed perfectly in the bag, yes, the bag's moving around with the truck and everything. I've never had a problem that has, a problem with the camera physically inside from that kind of abuse of
My
traveling.
biggest fear is that if the car gets too hot and then it gets cold, you worry about, well, A, the batteries kind of get drained a little bit because of the temperature change.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
also I worry about, because I had a friend of mine who had when we were shooting for the newspaper, he'd keep all his stuff in the back of his had a little like extended cab pickup truck 4x4,
Hmm.
and he'd keep it in there even when he, so, like, I don't know, I don't know if I could call him a knucklehead or not. He'd keep it in there even when he went in his house, and he'd come out next morning, blah blah blah, kind of thing. He never took it out. Well, it ended up getting like a weird mold inside the lens because of the constant heat,
Oh,
the
right.
temperature changes and stuff. And,
Yeah.
of course, I never left my stuff inside the. I don't even leave my stuff
Yeah.
in the back of my car in the garage. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? So I don't know,
No,
but
I agree with that. I mean, there's definitely you've got to think temperature into it because temperature I think is more harmful than the vibration or the movement of traveling, even on a rough dirt road. I mean,
yeah,
they're pretty durable devices. It takes a lot to really mess them up,
yeah.
and you have to be either fully careless with it or just not care about it at all to mess the thing up. Because
Sometimes you feel like there's stupid people everywhere.
yeah, it's like excuse not to carry it or not to use it or something. Like, yeah, I bought it to use it. I'm going to use it.
And so that new Sony that came out, that's A67, I think it is.
The
I don't know.
6700.
Yeah, I mean, what's the big advantage of that now?
Well, so I covered this all in the first half of the show, but definitely go over it again with you. So there's nothing to me. There's nothing new in the camera Sony hasn't already given us.
Oh, okay.
And but what it is a 4 year newer, top of the line APS-C camera, because the one it's replacing, which is the Alpha 6600, is basically the same camera without 10-bit recording and the old sensor that they've used in all their APS-C cameras from the start of when they started doing 24 megapixel sensors.
So it's not even full frame.
No, it's APS-C.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got all the kind of the trick bells and whistles out of the full frame A7R5, which is the current high resolution flagship. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
flagship A1 because the A1 is our, you know, it's the top tier best camera they sell for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it gives they gave it, you know, AI autofocus features. They gave it all the high end video features. Now I have the FX30, which is their cinema line entry level camera, which is the APS-C sensor, and they gave it the sensor out of this camera, which in my mind has been it's a great move. It's a fantastic sensor. I have no issues with it at all. Um, but you know, it's a hybrid camera. It's video photo. It's got a viewfinder. It's got a mechanical shutter in it. Where my FX30 doesn't have a mechanical shutter and it doesn't have a viewfinder, but it has a cooling fan, so I can run 4K in 100 degrees weather all day. You
Hmm.
know, where
Okay.
that camera doesn't, and it's shutting off at 40 minutes or so. I think is what the internet's saying. Is 4K recording in heat. You got 40 minutes, but it's just a more modern upgrade, and it's been 4 years coming. For Sony, that's an eternity. The way they release cameras, um, their APS-C line really died out with COVID because they had just released the new generation of it, with the 6100 being the new entry level camera, which replaced the A6000, which is what I started on. And to me, the A6000 is a fantastic little handheld camera for an APS-C camera. But the COVID, that the chip shortages and everything, that Sony kind of dropped that line. They stopped pushing it, and they just stopped doing anything with it. And then we saw it revitalized with this FX30 when they brought it out. And to me, this was a no-brainer for me because I've always liked their APS-C line. I like the size of the cameras. Now, this FX30 is the same size as the full-frame variant. It's the same body,
Mm-hmm.
which is the FX3. But I always like that rangefinder style camera. It just, to me, just packing it in places or on the motorcycle, it's just real easy to carry. It's small.
Hmm.
And I've always liked the performance out of them. Even the early, the A6000 from I think it's 2013, 2014, that camera came out. It is incredibly fast with the autofocus. It was, speedy shutter. Comparing it to my big, 42 megapixel full frame, it's a powerhouse for speed. Where this is not what I went and shot the kids playing soccer with.
Mm-hmm.
Everything works so much better now that the new ones are just light years ahead of that in speed and performance. Um, I ended up selling I had a 6400, which is their midline, which was a video centric camera for me. I bought it for video when I started this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had it up until I bought the full frame A7 III. And the A7 III to me for the video was just better quality. The right deal came along, it worked out, I got it, and then I went out to
Mm-hmm.
APS-Cs completely and had all full frames. And then when I saw the FX30 release, I mean, I've never sold gear so fast to be able to get something like this. Like I wanted that 10-bit world of video editing, and I'm a video guy. That's where I really enjoy it. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, it was a no-brainer for me to get this one. But the new camera, it's just another new model that's out right now. To me, it has a lot of perks to me. Like the reasons why I'd consider buying it is it's the same sensor as my video camera, my primary. So for a B camera, it has the exact same video features as this camera.
Hmm.
So the sensor and image quality should be identical. But it's also the photo camera with the high speed autofocus, the AI autofocus tracking, and all that is all brand new modern stuff. So, and it uses the newer, bigger batteries, which is a big, huge plus compared to the older batteries that they put in these. These batteries are worthless. So,
Yeah.
but it's not something I'm going to go out and jump and buy right away. I'm more leaning toward upgrading to another newer full frame still camera. But it hasn't crossed my mind to just drop full frame and just go all APS-C, because I like the compactness of the lenses. I like the size and the feel of the weight and everything, versus when you start getting into the bigger, heavy full frame stuff.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, full frame stuff is heavier. Trust me.
yes, well, as much as I say that, I probably never will give up my full frame because it's freaking fantastic. But
Yeah.
and I can't replace what this camera is. This is that 42 megapixel, the A7R2. I mean, you can pick these things up used for $1,000, and it's more camera than most cameras were for a long time.
Yeah.
I've
been kind of kicking around an idea picking up an 850 because I think it's 45 megapixels.
Mm-hmm.
And you do 4K video and all that stuff with it, and I'll honestly I don't really do hardly any video. It's all stills when I'm shooting weddings and stuff, But it'd be kind of nice to have a camera kind of dedicated to doing portraits and stuff, because I mean obviously higher resolution,
Yeah. I mean, this one's 42 megapixel, and it's everything I've ever wanted in a camera. I mean, I've had this now. Is it going on 5 years? I bought it right as this was going out and the replacement was coming out. I bought it like a month or two before it got replaced, and no, it's probably longer than that. Probably more like a year. But I had it for a while, and I've never had a need to upgrade it because of image quality. The battery, the newer camera that replaced it was basically the same sensor. It had the newer battery, which gave it 3 times the life, which of course is awesome. It gave it a little bit better autofocus system, but other than that, there was really no improvements to it to justify it, to replace or upgrade.
Yeah.
And I've been more than happy with this little camera, and all the images I showed you shot with it. It's
and Sony makes some nice glass too, so that's a plus.
I've really liked their glass, and I want to get. I've always wanted to find an older Canon or Nikon set, or somebody selling it that doesn't know what they have, and then just to use it and try it. Nothing new. I don't want to invest on anything new, of course, but I'm buying old. I think I showed you the last time all that old lenses and stuff I've been buying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like to try to play with other old glass, and that's what the thing nice I like about these cameras is you can it clicks right onto it and you can shoot it. So, but no, Sony's doing a good job with it. They've got a lot of glass coming out, from when they started. They're making good lenses, and what I'm waiting for, one lens I'd really want is a 300-2.8. That's like the lens I think I would spend money on to buy.
Yeah. Before I went on my trip, I almost picked up a Nikon has a 200-500. It's a 5.6, which
right.
Not bad. And, not bad. But man, you put that on a crop sensor camera, and man, all of a sudden that's a ginormous lens.
Oh yeah. That's the other reason I like having an APS-C camera in my bag, is I had a 100-400, the G Master 100-400 for a while, and it, is a 200-600 on a crop body, and astrophotography, the moon, whatever, is great with it. But something else. Other reason why I want like a 300-2.8 is I want to get into tracking astrophotography with a tracker, and I think a 300-2.8 on long exposures, I could get some nebulas or
there you go
with that.
Have you seen any of the Elon Musk is doing that like satellite thing,
right?
But anyway, me and my wife are outside on the deck one night, and we see his little band of satellites in the going across. And then all of a sudden you see this other little one, and it joins up with the other ones, and they just keep their orbit going. It
Yeah.
was, yeah. I'm thinking, Rosie, I think we have aliens. You know, it was like, I guess that's part of Starlink,
Yeah, it's the Starlink system.
and he wants to make it where no matter where you're at, you get like internet or I think cell phone even. You know,
Yeah, I've got a picture of the Starlink satellites actually.
that is just, I mean, so Elon Musk not only gonna take over the electric car thing, he's going to take over internet and
Yeah, right.
yeah, like he needs more money. You know,
Where the hell are they at? I've got. Yeah, we were out shooting and I got an image of it. Let's see, where's my hard drive at? It's probably on here. Um, yeah, here we go.
so is his goal to have those completely around the Earth to
Yeah,
get
it's
us?
where you have internet all the time. The only problem is it'll kill astrophotography if it's catching sunlight the right way, because that's when you see them.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Um, but yeah, it's definitely going to kill it if there's, no, that's not what I want. I've converted to Mac about a year and a half ago, and I'm still not used to how to display stuff. There we go. Um, oh, that's a raw. Dang it! I want to open the raw. Oh, let's open the JPEG. There it is. So this is a quick
Oh, wow.
shot. We were out shooting, and because it was dark, but
Yeah.
we had a full, not quite a full moon, but that's all the daylight you see is just the moonlight.
Oh,
But
wow.
like, hey, look at that! It's the Starlinks, and I swung the camera around and hit the shutter, so it moved a little bit.
That's cool.
Um, but yeah, in this image, you can kind of see the trails that each one would create. You know,
Uh-huh.
like I said, my camera moved, and of course, I had a long exposure on that tracked them, so it turns into a line. But there are
Uh-huh.
physical dots in the sky that are all in a straight line together. It's crazy,
Huh. Wow.
but
Tell you, man, Big Brother's going to take over.
yeah, that's a what was that one?
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to capture the space station too, but you can find out where it's going to be in the sky and all that, but it's hit and miss whether or not you'll find it.
Huh.
I've got this one. This is my. I don't know if I showed you this one last time or not.
Wow, that's cool.
That's down there going south into the really dark skies.
Wow.
So that's where I really enjoy it, is doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. So I like doing like night photography of like streets and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah,
those are cool too.
yeah. I've always liked nighttime stuff and long exposure, and you get the color pops and the darkness,
Yeah.
and I think what else I've got shot. That's where when I was down in Fort Worth, I was looking for all that because there's a bridge there that's lit up at night, and it wasn't lit up in the morning I was there. I don't know if
Uh,
it's off or not working, but they have all the arches lit up, and there's only a couple vantage points you have to kind of get to. I don't know if you're allowed to, but to where you'd be able to capture it well, really nice. But um, and then there's another one with the Fort Worth City Capitol building, or the their courthouse, whatever you want to call it, downtown,
Mm-hmm.
which is a rather large building. But when you're coming up into town, you go across a bridge and it's straight ahead in the bridge. So I was like, man, I get out in the middle of the street and set up a tripod there and do a long exposure in a portrait
Mm-hmm.
orientation. You'd be able to get a bitch and looking shot, especially if you're back far enough at like 200 millimeter or 300
Mm-hmm.
millimeter. Be a really cool looking shot. So I want to go back and get that shot. And then um, there's another one in Dallas. It's a very popular bridge you can get on top of. That's an overpass.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I have this image on my hard drive. I might have it. I got so many dang photos everywhere. I'm pretty sure it's not in here. But yeah, the where you can do a long exposure of the interstate underneath you, and you get the headlights and the tail lights,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then you got the skyline of Dallas. And I shot that one. I found that the good focal range is around 300 millimeters for that shot to get the nice skyline and
Uh-huh.
all the traffic cars underneath you on the overpass.
Yeah.
It's a really cool shot. And I found that spot by just like Googling it, like, okay, they're looking this way to see the skyline this way. So where are they be at? And I was looking at where the interstate was, the exit sign you can see in the photos. And
Mm-hmm.
I found it, found the bridge, and I went out and took my
That's
picture of it.
cool. Yeah. I want to where I live in Hobart, there's a city called Gary. Gary is not exactly the greatest. It's kind of like borderline. Looks like it would make Beirut look like a summer vacation.
Right.
Anyway, but there's a bunch of old buildings that they just abandoned, and stuff. I want to go in there and start shoot some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Only trouble is, what's all my luck? I fall through the floor and nobody will find me. Because they're not exactly in the greatest shape at all. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot of old farmhouses out here that are abandoned that you can shoot. And I actually did a video process I've been working on. I've been saying I'm going to finish, and I haven't finished it. I haven't posted a video to YouTube in almost 3 months. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so busy, but I try to stay up with this part of it. But I was shooting pictures of this one abandoned house, and my wife had walked up around behind it, and she, at some point she thought I was inside walking in the building, and she started talking to me, and I was still 50 yards away on the street.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I thought you were inside the house shooting out through the windows,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw her like a ghostly image, and it turned out being her.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. She came back around the thing. I thought you were up in the house. I said, no. She's like, well, I was sitting there talking to you. I heard footsteps in there. Wasn't me.
Oh boy!
So,
Do not
yeah.
walk to the first exit.
Yeah. So, yeah. There definitely is some fun stuff. There's one, I guess, really popular place. It's an old, I don't know if it's a mansion or an old hospital or asylum up somewhere north from me that I've been wanting to go up to and explore, because apparently you can get into it, you know, uh, if you not reading any signs, you can wander into it somehow. But uh,
How convenient.
yeah, that I wanted to go up and shoot. And then the one I actually lost my opportunity on just recently was there's an old abandoned water park in the town that I've seen some photography out of that just looks amazing.
Oh wow.
And they finally just tore it down like this
Oh,
year.
cool.
But I've been always wanting to go over and shoot in there and get inside there. And of course, it's people get caught in there all the time. It was always one of those hot spots. So you just had to always be really careful when and where, how you got in there. But a lot of the locals had gone in there and done it, talked to that had shot in there, but it was frequently checked on.
Yeah, because like
But
before you get down to Indianapolis, there's like an old asylum uh, place that's like really cool. You actually pay, they'll let you go in. I mean, it's still
Hmm.
pretty solid and stuff.
That's
And
cool.
a lot of photographers take miles in there and do some really crazy stuff because there's graffiti in there. There's like, I mean, yeah, but it has been used since the 50s or 60s or something like that. It's
Right.
been a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love stuff like that, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. I like that exploration. What do they call it? Uber. What is that term? I don't know. Uber Xing or Uber. But yeah, just exploring those old abandoned places like that to get
Yeah,
photos.
there's a guy that in like Gary, because Gary, man, it's the capital of abandoned buildings, and there's some places this guy drives by and goes in and walks around and videotapes with his phone, you know, all the stuff inside there. There's some stuff where you're like, wow. I mean, some of the stuff like there was some old covers. Oh, excuse me. It was in there
Gotcha.
that was like just sitting in there. He's like, we couldn't get him out because the doors were locked, but you know, but the windows were all blown out, and it was you know, who knows?
Yeah, one of my first when I first started picked up photography, I tried to get some model, not model work, but did some free photo shoots for people in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Found on Facebook, and I took a girl out there for senior portraits to this old church that was abandoned and all rickety, and I got some cool shots out of that place with it. Um, they've since torn that one down too,
uh,
but that was a really cool location. But there's so many of them around here; it's so easy to get into and go find. But
that's
but
cool.
you never know of what it is when you go out to find these places. What you're going to get into, so you got to always be careful.
Yeah, a couple places I got some friends that are conceal and carry, so they got something on them just in case. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Yeah, I've got conceal and carry, but I don't carry that stuff with me. You know, I don't know.
I've got it. I don't know how often I carry for most things, but if I'm out by myself, I'm usually am.
Yeah,
But especially with the way some of this camera thieving's been happening. Well, depending where I'm at, I'm open carry.
yeah,
There ain't no sense in hiding it. But
yeah.
yeah, most of the stuff I usually got something with me. But
Oh yeah, what the heck? Not even
what's
11:20.
crazy is like you go to the Texas Capitol building, and
Uh huh.
which is a fantastic spot to do photography. I mean, that building is amazing. I mean, it's bigger than the Washington D.C. Capitol building,
Oh wow.
and beautiful building and beautiful inside. And I've got some amazing photographs I've taken with a 16 millimeter fisheye, looking up, like seeing the
Yeah.
whole round structure. Um, and it's got full security and metal detectors, but you can go in carrying. You can
Yikes.
go you
Okay.
can go through security and have it all on because it's a public building and you're allowed to.
Oh my
I just
gosh.
thought that was weird and cool to me. But
Yeah.
what's cool about the Texas Capitol building is you've got 4 levels of rings that you can go up and look
Uh-huh.
down or look up into the dome. And even on the highest fourth level, you can public access to and look up into. It's way the hell up there. And then at the very top, there's a spiral staircase that goes up into the dome even further. And I was like, God dang, how do you get up there? So I was joking with one of the security guards. I'm like, hey, who do I have to, you know, help out to go get a shot to go up all the way up to the top? And he goes, man, I ain't even allowed up there. And I'm like, he goes, if you went up there, I couldn't chase you up there. I was like, oh, you can't, huh? And he goes, yeah. I said, we're waiting when I get to the bottom of the ride. He goes, oh yeah, we'll be down here waiting for you.
Oh my God.
But I was also, so I'm like, okay, well, they're there. So how do somebody go up there to get up there? And he goes, the only way you go up there is if one of your state representatives escorts you up there. Okay, well, that's a new goal in life.
There you go.
But really cool because, I mean, you can get pretty far up at the base of the dome. And then, like I said, at some point in the base of the dome, there's a spiral staircase that goes up even further. And I thought, man, that would be cool to get up in there and shoot down.
Yeah.
But now somebody probably just fly a drone in there and get the shot.
I went into what was it, the Madison, Wisconsin's state building, and it's got, like you said, like the circles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like looking, I'm like, wow, look at the ceiling. So I got like a 20 millimeter f2 lens. So what I did, I'm laying on the floor, shooting straight up into this building, and I'm like clicking away, and all of a sudden I feel something like almost like kicking me in the shoulder. Security guard says, "What are you doing?" I says, "Isn't it obvious? You see a camera in my hand, and I'm looking straight up, you know."
Yeah.
Well, you can't lay there. You got to get up. Okay. I mean, I already got like 12 frames, so I was okay. But
yeah, we were okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went and did that shot. I laid down in the middle of the floor to shoot up at the thing. That's how I got that shot. I was trying to see if I had those pictures on here. I remember seeing a couple of them not too long ago. I've got to get my portfolio moved onto this laptop permanently, so I have my photos.
And
that's just another way to stay organized.
How do you show a photo on this?
So I have to share. I have a dual monitor. It's the only way I can really do it. I can do it off a single monitor, but of course, if I put a window up, I lose the StreamYard window.
Oh, okay.
But I have my dual monitor on here, and I have it already pre-selected as like another person that I can just click into and show.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I'm doing it. So if I haven't been in Robert Silver's StreamYard in a while because he hasn't had anybody going in, but I don't know if it had that. I think it does have the option to present in the bottom of the toolbar of StreamYard. There's like a little TV screen with a plus sign in it.
Yeah.
If you click that, you can go in and share your screen that way. Just be careful what you got on your screen. Make sure you got nothing. That's
wow. She had really.
You don't want on YouTube forever. Don't make me go in and edit this video.
Do I have? Where'd I put it? There we go. So if I go to,
I think you can present it, and I can broadcast it. I believe if it'll pop up like I think it will, so you can tell me it's safe, and I can turn it on.
So it says screen sharing is easiest with two monitors.
Right.
Screen sharing works best on a good computer. Okay. Let's try this. What's the worst going to happen? Window, entire screen. Try entire screen. All I have is a picture of you. StreamYard.
Are you on a Mac or a PC?
Just regular PC.
Okay. I know on my Mac I had to go in and give it permission to
Can
view.
You see that?
Yes, I see it. Okay, so I can share it now.
That's the concert stuff I shot.
Okay, here I'm going to add it to the stream now. There we go.
All right. That was thrilling.
Hey, I know how it works now. At least I can have the final say. Okay, here I got the pictures of them in here. They're out my iPhone pictures of copies, so they're not the full. But let me. So this is shot from the top of the 4 levels. This picture. Make it big here. There we go. Oh, it's a trash photo because of the iPhone compression, but it'll work on here. Where's that? So yeah, this you're up. I'm up on the last fourth story of the building, basically in the circles here, where I shot up at this one,
Wow.
and then you've got this big dome inside here, and then there's this further level that you could get to. But see, right here, there's a staircase that goes up to this level into the dome,
Uh,
and I was
that's
like,
way too
oh,
high.
I want to go up there, and I there's a staircase with a little tiny rope that says no public access.
Yeah, like that's gonna deter somebody.
Yeah. I was like, well, I could probably sneak up there. But this building is gorgeous. I gotta get these real photos going on here to show because the detail, this is the Texas up here written in the star spots and
Oh wow.
uh, it, just the coloring and the lighting is just fantastic. It's just beautiful inside this dome. And then I got one showing down. Back here's the view looking down.
Ugh. Okay.
And so again, this is shot at a 16 millimeter fisheye in full frame,
Oh
so it
wow.
actually worked really well with the circles. But
I picked up a Sigma 14 to 24 art lens.
uh-huh.
Wow. And then of course, wouldn't you know it? Like it was like two weddings later, I went to bride's house, and the house, this house was so small, you had to almost leave the house just to change your mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and she's like, "Well, no, none of the other photographers can can get pictures of us in this house because it's too small." Click. Here we go. You know?
I need to do that this week. I gotta go through all my hard drives and start going through some of my old photos.
Yeah, I'm up to like what 6 or 8 external hard drives. It's
Yeah, i've got
nuts.
i've got four of them, and they're, well, with video on them, they're fill up quick, but
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of old photos I need to put up on here to just be
I
able to
think our
share real
power and
quick.
light companies like sent me thank you letters a couple times.
I know I was at the store and I got all excited because I found an 18 terabyte hard drive on clearance for $180. I thought, man, that's a
Ooh,
good deal, but
that is a steal and a steal. Yeah.
I had to refrain from getting that one too.
Uh,
But I wanted it.
just remember, you can't take it with you.
That's right.
In theory. Well, let's get a solid gold casket. Then you technically you took it with you. I keep threatening my daughter. Says, I can always just get a really nice solid gold casket.
This is I've changed this office layout now, but the TV's still in the same spot. This is my editing TV.
Oh wow, that's a nice TV.
Yeah,
You just
what's
basically
nice is
run
that,
it off your laptop, right?
yeah, I plug in my laptop to it, and then it's got the speakers on the side. It's one of those
Ooh,
the
there you
Sony
go.
XPRs with the big studio monitors.
Somebody always made some really nice. I had an old 1,000 years ago a 27-inch TV that Sony when they were Trintron, remember?
Oh yeah,
And oh my god, sometimes I swear it sounded better in my studio. But it sounded better in my studio, my blah, 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 my stereo.
yeah. Because the boxes were big enough for the speakers to have some thump out of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This one sounds pretty dang good because it's got some big channel space and the little subs and
There you go.
um,
When I first bought my Lincoln, um, I didn't. I just oh wow, it was a cool car. It was awesome for putting my camera stuff in, and didn't realize it's got an 800-watt stereo in it with subwoofers built
right.
in. And I'm like, so me and Rose are going somewhere. I got the moonroof, the side windows down, driving through downtown Hobart. And all I hear is
Yeah,
I get my loud music therapy in.
yeah, I I worked for Benz years back, and one of the last cars that came out while I was still there was it was around probably 2014, 2015, the new SL, the Roadster convertible.
Oh yeah. Oof.
It starts at like a measly $120,000, and but the stereo in it, they had a $13,000 stereo option in that car,
Yikes.
and I got in one that had that option in it one day, and I put my music in it because I had my songs I like to play in those cars.
Yeah.
What's cool about that car was it's one of the first cars that was all aluminum, and the longitudinal members that come off the front firewall or the bulkhead that go up to the front, which are your actual crash structures.
Uh-huh.
Um, and they're also the tie-in points for all your front suspension, everything there. The engine,
Uh-huh.
it's the main frame points that run all the way forward to the front bumper.
Oh wow.
They were solid boxed aluminum, not solid, but they're boxed in aluminum chambers. And they put like these 8-inch woofers in each one of them behind your dash.
Oh my God.
And you talk about a car that had a stereo in it. This thing sounded amazing. And it used that frame member as the speaker box. Just
Oh my gosh.
unreal how good the stereo in a car could sound when that all your bass was up in the front like a pair of nice studio monitors.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that blew me away. But I've got my my nice CERN Vegas back here for my
Yeah,
stereo in this room.
I had those in my dark room. It was like the I want to say 20-inch woofers and like a high-end tweeter, a mid-range tweeter, and then I had an old Sansui receiver that was a 400-watt receiver. And let me tell you, man, you wanted to rock out my dark room. I had it so loud one day, I could hear it when I went upstairs to go get the mail. I could hear it halfway down my driveway, and
Yeah,
it was downstairs in a basement. And I'm
yeah,
like, I was
yeah.
like, I think at the time I had, remember Peter Frampton Comes Alive?
Mm-hmm.
Show me the, I remember, and
Yeah.
and you could like, so my neighbors are looking like, what the hell are you doing? And then I had like a Sony receiver. It was only 200 watts, and I decided one day that I was going to take these old Pioneer speakers because in the front window there was a flower box that kind of hugged the curve of the front window. It was a bay window, so I
Yeah.
opened these windows. I put these two giant speakers on each side on the flower box because I decided I was going to use my gas powered blower to blow all the leaves off my front yard. Right? I had it so loud that it was echoing off the house across the street coming back.
Oh,
At
jeez.
7:05, the Maryville police show up, telling me I need to turn down my stereo. That was like at 7 o'clock in the evening on. You had to
Yeah. Right.
keep it down a little bit, I guess. And anyway,
Yeah. Well, I've all the time I grew up living in apartments and all that, and or growing up, I always had a house, and my dad always had a stereo, and he'd crank it all the time. But when I moved out and had my own apartments, I always had to be really careful with music and my big ES receiver and my speakers. So, but
the neighbors going, boom, 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 turn
yeah,
it down.
but I've only had my neighbor come to my house one time, and it was me and my wife were at home by ourselves at our house, and I had there's these Turn Vegas pumping pretty good, and I had a subwoofer with them too, a big Vegas
Mhm.
subwoofer. And the neighbor knocked at the door at like probably 9:30 at night. He goes, "Man, I love the music, but you got to turn it down." And he's far. Yeah, all right, man.
Yeah, I miss
All
my.
right.
I had a pair of Infinity SM112s that were like had like 5 different tweeters, and they had this big um, subwoofer, and it was like funny because I'd crank up. Believe it sounds weird. I'd crank up Phantom of the Opera, and it would be like doing it. And like, okay.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, we got Trixie here from gaming.
Trixie Gaming. Hello. Trixie's a regular here in this channel.
Yeah. That's because we're huggable and lovable.
Had some conversations in the past with.
They should have him or them jump on and so we see what actually they see what we look like. Only fair we see what they look like. Come on
Yeah,
down.
I've invited. You're always welcome to join in live. He's asking, did you guys buy anything for Prime Days? No, I did not. I did good this year.
I mean, I guess he cut the camera bag as a Prime Day, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, we didn't do too much with Prime Day this year. I watched my affiliate links really closely. My affiliate links go from an average of 25 to 50 clicks a day. It was like 400 something for the day.
Oh, okay.
But you don't see the sales the first day. It takes 2 or 3 days. But I did about, I think, through people just clicking on my links and purchasing stuff. I think I made like $9.
Woohoo! Big money.
Hey, it's a small channel, but hey, every little bit helps.
They'll buy 1/10 of a gallon of gas.
Yeah. So I thought it was cool. I know the first time I got an affiliate sale was like 43 cents. And I was like, all right.
Big money.
And then I sold somebody bought an A7R2 on an affiliate link. It was worth like $80.
Oh wow.
I was like, wow, that's cool. So I think I'm in the negative right now though, because somebody bought a laptop on it and I got like $45 and then it disappeared. So either it got returned or they pulled the affiliate money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh
well, Trixie Gaming, do you have the invite to come live? You want to come join us? If you want to.
We can always talk about gaming. I'm open to anything.
Yeah. There's a link if you want to try to join us. All you need is a smartphone, really. Don't need much. I'm all set up. What are you on, Cooley? Just a webcam or
a webcam?
Where you got it?
I'm about as dirt cheap as you can get.
Yeah. Just a camera in the laptop or what?
Oh, camera and a desktop with quad cores. So.
Oh, okay. Looks pretty good.
Yeah. So far, so good.
But yeah, if you want to join in live with us, it's the link. You're more than welcome to join in and hop in the room. But yeah, I just recently, in fact, I'm thinking about doing it on live. I've got an ES receiver back over here behind my monitor that went out, and it works great for like 5 minutes. As it gets hot, you start hearing and the sound cuts. Yeah. And something's getting hot in there, and I've researched it best I can, except for it's not the specific model, but a lot of models like it have that problem where there's a solder joint that's opening up where it's cracked. Mm-hmm. And when it cools off, it touches and it works great. And then as it gets hot, that mm-hmm. solder splits open and you start getting that staticky noise as it's growing. Mm-hmm. So I bought the whole SONY service manual for it, and I've got all the wiring diagrams for it, and I've been like studying them, trying to figure out what I need to do in there. But as soon as I buy some good tooling, I might do an overhead rig or something on this live and do a full teardown, just however long it takes, and cool. Take it apart and see if I can't get it fixed, because it's a nicer one. So I bought a little cheap $20 one to fill its spot for right now. Found it on Facebook.
I've got like an old, I don't think it's even 100 watt, but it's like a 5-disc. This is like crazy old 5-disc CD player. But what I usually do is just plug in like a headphone jack into it and listen to music.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll get you in here one of these days, man. I just appreciate you stopping in to say hi. But if anybody wants to join in live, there's the link I put up here. Everybody's welcome to come in and say hi. We're doing good right now. We're a little over 2 hours in.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. I've got an older. I've been wanting to do this collection for a while, but I have an older Sony ES mini disc player that I've had since like high school.
Oh wow!
And it's given me fits too. And I think it's just a dirty lens. I just got to get in there and clean the lens of the laser because because I think I can get it cleaned out. But
set up another page.
Yeah, about my Sony stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just basically I got the easy way, the photography end of it. Been doing that for God. Say I was 16 when I started doing weddings. I'm now almost 60. Good grief! Oh my God. Guess I earned this gray hair.
At my rate, I'll be lucky to have it.
I think I've had a few light forest fires up here too. So
yeah. Yeah, we got another gentleman, Matthew Pay. What do you think about the Polar Pro Helix Maglock filters? I've only seen them once in a video, and I'll say that they do seem enticing as far as screwing on the filter and taking it off is a pain in the butt. And the thing I hate the most about that is where do you do with it in the meantime? So a nice soft pocket in here, that's where they usually sit without any lens caps. So I always make sure my pockets are clean just for my filters. So the Mag Pros that what he's talking about, I think they're magnetic, but they twist to a lock and they come on and lock on there.
Oh wow.
They seem really, really interesting and nice to. I'm definitely interested in them. I haven't researched them totally. Like I said, I've only seen them in passing in another gentleman's video, but they seem like they'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, Magmont's got that for light modifiers for their flashes and stuff.
There's another photographer I follow. I think it's Nick Page. Have you ever seen him?
I don't know if I have or not.
He's out of Washington. He's got a YouTube channel with 100,000 some subscribers, but he's got some magnetic ones he uses that are not this new Polar Pros. I think these new Polar Pros just came out like a week ago or something. But
oh
wow, the what do you call it? They're just magnetic. You put the screw-on ring that holds the magnet, and then you just snap on whatever filter you need, and you have your sleeve of filters. Now that's cool. I like that setup, but it's something I definitely want to invest in because I've got the screw-on variable NDs, and they work great. I love them, but yeah, the second you go in somewhere and it's dark, you got to unscrew it, throw it in your pocket, So the magnet ones seem like it would be a good option.
Crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, one of these days I'm going to get all my equipment all figured out and set up and have it all
these days I got to straighten out my office. It looks like my office looks like Beirut right now.
Well, I'm fortunate enough I get this whole little studio to myself here in the house, and I've got all my stuff in here to play with, and like I said, I do my YouTube videos in here. I've got my editing done in here. I got my stereo in here. So I can enjoy it. And it's a big room, but I might have to do a tour one of these days on my YouTube channel. Get a video tour of everything because I've got what is it? I got a couple things, cool things to show people.
So, what kind of car stuff do you usually fix where you work?
I'm not into automotive anymore. I'm in hydraulics now, so I do.
Oh, okay.
Do hydraulic stuff for oil field out here industry, but that's my day job. But I was a Mercedes-Benz mechanic for about 12 years.
That's
Worked my
cool.
way up through the ranks, was a shop foreman and all that, and I've worked on just about every model imaginable. At some point I was foreman of the shop. I got instant training, so if a new course or car came out, I was on a plane to the training facility within the month to do that. Uh, so I did that for, like I said, 12 years, and then the industry just got to a point where it wasn't fun to make money anymore because the mechanics, we were paid flat rate, and being foreman, having to fix serious diagnostic problems on these high end Benzes was just getting to be not as enjoyable when you're not getting paid for it, you know. So that's where I made the transition out of it and into something else. But yeah, it's been a changeover for me. But um, I've worked on I've worked on a half million. Well, I think that deal went for 1.3 million, a 300 gull wing. I
Oh
got to
wow.
work on for an inspection with the potential buyer, the buyer's agent, the customer, my boss, all sitting there watching me do a compression test on this thing so to verify the engine was good.
Wow.
But yeah, all the high end AMG models I've played in, I've had seat time in them, I've had track time in them, I've had some fun. So back to this question real quick. How big is your room? Seems like it's a nice little setup. Yeah, this room is about, I want to say it's 13 by 11. So 13 this way and 11 this way. So I've got a lot of room. I'm like dead center in it right now, where I have. But I'll be on the lookout. I have plans with this current live setup. I was actually thinking of filming it and how I set up a live and do a studio tour.
Uh,
So that's
that's cool.
coming. Um, and yes, what's your thoughts on Mercedes cars? So working on them, most of the time mechanics say they're all junk and trash. I can say that honestly, Mercedes is probably one of the best automobiles on the road. Period. They've been doing it the longest. They come out with the most advanced technologies. They've always shared safety and technologies with other manufacturers, and I still personally drive them. I mean, they're incredibly safe, and I drive them for the one reason of one, I know them. Um, they are a safe vehicle. I trust them with my family's life in them, and they're just built way better than any other car out there. I mean, when you really get into how these things come apart, and people say, "Oh, metals are thinner now, and they're just not built very well." They've they're built thicker than any other car out there. I mean, they really are. The substructures, the crash zones, the stuff, and it's the stuff I've gotten into because you've had to replace a harness um, or stuff like that, and they're just built so much better. So to your question, you heard that they're in the shop a lot. Yes, they can be, and there's good ones and there's bad ones. And I say that the same model can be in the shop, and I've had customers and I feel bad for them because they've had a bad experience because you'll have their car in the shop with legitimate problems every month. It's like, man, what's happened next to your car? And then there's other cars you see every 10,000 miles for their oil change and they're gone, and they come in at 250,000 miles for their oil change and there's not ever been a problem one in that car. So that's what you pick out and whether or not you get the luck of the draw on them if you get in the shop a lot. Now, that being said, I've owned a handful of them over the years. Every one I've owned has never really given me any problems.
Knock on wood.
Um, yeah. So you think the manufacturing? Yes, I do believe there's an inconsistency in the manufacturing of them, and I swear to God, because I can go in when I was there, and you can punch in a VIN number, and it'll tell you everything about that car to the time it left the assembly line, and the date, the time, and everything. And a Friday's cars always seem to have more problems than a Wednesday car. That's something I just learned over time.
Huh.
So when
Probably
I
with
would
all
shop,
cars.
when
You think
when
about it.
I when I yeah, it is because people want to get out of there or whatever, and depending where they're built, because all the SUVs for a long time are being built here in the U.S. and Alabama, and I think there was a huge inconsistency out of the Alabama plant, especially on new models. When the new models release, one thing I'll never buy is first year. Never buy the first year. And second year is okay as long as they got it all figured out in the first year, because the second year, that's when all the implementation and everything goes into the factory that to fix all the little problems they figured out in the first year.
Uh-huh.
Um, Mercedes had a really bad rap back when I first started with the brand, which was back in 2005. They had all their cars. They were nice cars, but they were just junk as far as the systems in them and the reliability of the little nitpicky buttons and all this little stuff. And then they had a lot of mechanical structural problems in them. And the reason why was because they stopped driving cars. That was the era of the computer that came out and says, hey, we can design and drive a car a million miles in the computer and figure out everything wrong with it. And they stopped building production cars and they stopped driving them for those years. And for whatever reason, without the miles in the R&D department, they dropped off. And it
Huh.
wasn't until and that was about an era of 2000 to 2006. So any new car released in the 2000 to 2006 range had those kind of issues that a car just shouldn't have. And it wasn't until that time they got up to them. They said, no, we need to start building cars again. Then they started building pre-production cars, and they started putting miles on them. And that's when the quality went through the roof. It went way up for a while. We were all, I was there at the time when they made it all the way back up to number one spot. And then shortly after the time I left, and a lot of my colleagues that I knew in the industry that left, because like I said, I was one of the foremen at one of the dealerships, and we were all this big, tight group of people that knew each other. We all started seeing the brand going a different direction than what we liked, and that's when we kind of started making our exit out. And then now it's tanked again.
Hmm.
I still think they're fantastic cars. They're built extremely well. There's safety 100% in mind when they build them. You have to have a respect for that side of it. But there's two types of people that can own a Mercedes: those that can afford them new while they're under warranty and get a new one every couple of years, or the people that can afford them used, because you're going to have to know how to work on them or pay to fix them, because they are very expensive to fix and sometimes stupidly expensive to fix.
Hmm.
Let's go back here. Thoughts on BMW and Mercedes. So I only know BMWs from their motorcycles. That's all I know. I didn't know they made cars. No, BMW cars are really good, but a German once described it to me like this: is it picture the U.S. and you've got Mercedes being built up north, and down there in the south over there somewhere is where BMW is being built. So that's how German will explain the difference to me on their end. BMW is like the southern company of the country, but really the difference between the BMW and a Mercedes is the driving experience. So BMW makes a fantastic product. I always like their cars when they come in used. I drive them. I've driven a lot of them. Spent seat time in them, but they are a true driving machine, like they're advertising. You feel the road. You feel driving that car, and that's something the Benz won't do. Is Benzes are luxury. They are comfortable. They are easy to drive. They cruise phenomenally well. You don't have that connection to the road. Now, you pause there and you add an AMG badge to the back of it, you get that connection and that performance and everything. And at the click of the button, you're back to that nice, calm, relaxing drive. It's really good. Where BMWs, even their cheap little models to their SUVs, all felt like, oh, I don't want to go take this thing around a track. I mean, they feel good. That's the difference between BMW and Mercedes. If you want a driving experience and you like driving your car and actually feeling the road, BMW all day long. If you want just a nice, solid vehicle that's luxury, that has power and can get on it and move, the Benz is really, really good for that. I was paying a lot more for a luxury, expensive car, and it sucked. Yeah, it would. It. I've dealt with a lot of customers that have had very poor experiences, and and it's unfortunate because you know how good the brand is, and I've always stood behind the brand, and like I said, I still own it. I still know a lot about it. I still work on my own cars. Um, I've got one currently. It's a 2015 GL 450. So it's basically the time when I left was 2015. I left the brand, so I don't know the newer cars beyond that. Still active in some of the Mercedes tech forums and stuff, and helping guys solve older problems. But um, I like hearing all the new stuff, and I'm like, man, I don't even know. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. It sucks being disconnected like that. But um, yeah, I've seen these cars, get destroyed in wrecks, and people walk away from it with nothing. We had one gentleman roll. I forget how it happened, but he rolled an E. It was like a 2012 E-Class wagon off of Interstate 80, 100 feet down a rock cliff, with his wife and his grandkids in the back seat, and landed upside down on top of the train tracks through that Truckee Canyon there, from Sacramento to Reno.
Mm-hmm.
And they all got out of that car, and just some minor scrapes and bumps.
Oh wow.
Car was completely just destroyed. You wouldn't think anybody was in it. It was amazing. We had our sales manager who was in a ML demo one day, and he got. And every time you have an accident, anything can happen. People can still, be killed in a car wreck by a Mercedes or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I say these things. These are specific instances I personally have seen that these cars have taken impacts and survived, and people are unscathed, and it's amazing when you look at the vehicle. But a second later, a second sooner, it could all be different, But he was driving his home from dinner one night with his wife and his kids in the back. His wife was in the front seat, kids in the back seat of this ML. So it's a 5-passenger SUV. He was T-boned by a drunk driver, and it sheared the back of the ML off right behind the back seat, and took the whole back of the car. It was like cut in half, clean to just separation. The axle, everything was gone, and his kids are right there in the back seat, untouched.
Oh
now,
wow.
Of course, that's a scenario that a 1 second difference could have changed that whole outcome, but it's still a testimony to, I think, what how these things, how they're designed to break apart, how they're designed to handle situations, and they do a good job. It's nothing. I've looked at what you get for like a Kia or a Hyundai. I've put them on the rack and looked at these things, and you look at the metal, and I can flex the metal with my thumb that holds the spring in. It's like, man, they're.
We've got a Hyundai, and it's like, well, what happened was they did a recall on the engine. We couldn't figure out why it was acting so screwed up. Turned out that the engine was recalled, so it was at the Hyundai dealership for like 4 or 5 months. They put a new engine in it, but it was just, anyway.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when we got it back, the NOx sensor in it went bad. They think they would change that when they changed the engine. I guess, I don't know, who knows. So then they went and put a new NOx sensor in there for us. I mean, they worked with us, but it was like, Hyundai paid for the whole thing, but it was just like, oh my God, how long does it take to get an engine from Korea? I guess, I don't know, but
right. Well, they're not in the business of selling parts. They're in the business of selling cars.
Yeah.
No, the kids were not separated. It separated behind the back seat, so it took the cargo portion and the rear axle of the SUV off, and it left the passenger cell completely intact, minus the rear wall. But like I said, that could have been a whole different situation depending on a millisecond sooner or later. That could have all changed. But that's one I physically have seen the outcome of and witnessed the vehicle beforehand.
I've seen Volvos, man, that one guy got hit by a semi, and him and his wife, they had the busted doors open. They got them out, and I mean, they're barely scuffed
Hmm.
because they put that like structure on the inside that protects the passengers.
Yeah.
So it's like a like so it's like, I don't know,
Well, there's so many multi-stage, like, so this is going back to technology that Mercedes developed probably 2003 is when it came out, and it was
uh-huh,
called pre-safe, and they gave the car the ability to start prepping for an accident when it thought an accident might happen. So
uh-huh,
cars have come a long way since then, because now we've got radar sensors all the way around the car that monitor what's happening around the car. But um, in 2003, it looked at driver input. So if the driver was all of a sudden if the car's just do cruising along, nothing going on, and all of a sudden there's a massive input and massive correction or anything going on, the car, it would trigger the first stage of pre-safe, which is the passenger seats and the rear seats, if capable, because some cars had it, power seats, would start moving to optimal airbag deployment position. It would pre-tension all the seat belts in the car, so your belts would suck up tight.
yeah,
Um, it would roll up the windows, close the sunroof, and do all these different things as to prep for the accident. That it's thinking, hey, we might be having an accident possibly, because the driver's all of a sudden. And this is just based off. You could go out and drive the car and trick it and make it do it, because you could just like
uh-huh,
jerk the wheel and it would trigger this pre-safe, and it would prep everybody inside it. The only thing it didn't move was it didn't ever move the driver, and the reason why was because they didn't want to distract the driver from the situation by moving his seat. That was the last thing they needed to do. So
oh wow,
the driver wasn't part of this whole thing, but the whole car shifted around. The other things it did was it started priming brakes. If you didn't touch the brake pedal, it put the pads on the rotors. Like it cinches them down right there. So you lose that millisecond of time that it takes to get the pedal there. It's prepping that. It turns on hazards. Then the second stage is post collision, where the collision will happen, and it will shut off fuel pump. It unlocks all the doors. It triggers the hazards. It will start flashing. It'll disable the major electrical components in the car. It shuts them all off, and it starts prepping the vehicle for recovery at that point. And that's all stuff that's been in these cars pretty much across the line since 2006, 2007, but it came out in 2003 in the S class. And then nowadays, what we get was these cars that can see around them. So there's so much happening in the back end of these high end cars that can see. Like they have the cameras in the windshields now. They've got the radar sensors in the bumper for adaptive cruise control, which is where that Mercedes started that system, I think, in '98, and where it would follow the car in front of it. And now
mhm.
it's full stop and go traffic.
I get that on my Lincoln, man. I love that when you're like going on a trip and you
You know,
set like 75 and the person in front of you slows down and
mm-hmm.
it'll automatically slow down
Yeah,
and it'll automatically hit the brakes on if somebody comes to a fast stop in front of you. They'll flash a
right.
light in their windshield and then it'll go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, I love driving with it just on, because on the bends, because my car's got it. It's got that adaptive stuff with the radar sensors, and
Mhm.
it's not only looking at the car in front of you, it's looking at two cars in front of them,
Hmm.
and it sees underneath the cars, the radar, so it can track. And they've showed us the
Yeah.
maps in technical training. They showed us the maps of this grid of what the radar is actually seeing. That is a visual representation for humans to understand, and
Uh-huh.
it's a bunch of little X's and dots and different things coming, toward the radar sensor, and it tracking speed, whether it's coming at it or if it's traveling with it or whatever.
Oh
And
wow.
so I've experienced it on my current car. Is I've had it slam on the brakes before I saw anything happening, because I was behind a semi truck and there was two cars in front of it, and the guy in front of the semi truck slammed on his brakes, and my car instantly hit its brakes without warning and started slowing down and backing off the semi truck, opening up distance. And then as soon as I felt that all happening, of course, in that half a second, I'm looking up, I'm like, oh, you know, that guy's slowing down up there. My car had already seen it and started.
Oh wow.
So I always like driving with it on, just because it can see beyond what you can see sometimes.
Yeah.
And, um, So there's things like that it's always doing on the back end. They've had braking systems that under certain pedal movements, it measures the time you lift your foot off the throttle, how quickly a brake application can happen. It measures that time in the background, and
Huh.
if you hit your brake all of a sudden, it puts in the brake chamber boosters. It's kind of getting technical, but how the vacuum assist works on the brake chamber. Well, there's another chamber that can have full atmospheric pressure, and if you apply a pressure to that, it gives like this 100% maximum braking power, and it'll it'll it slams on the brakes like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it hurts. And
Huh.
the anti-lock braking systems, the traction control systems involved, everything's working all at once to make this thing come to a stop, and it's working so fast. I mean, when we'd monitor this stuff on oscilloscopes. Technically, like when we had a major problem, we'd run in the car with oscilloscopes watching this stuff happen, and it can detect the wheel speed changes within less than a degree of rotation. It can detect a deviation in wheel speed and adjust. It's
Wow.
pretty incredible how advanced they were, and they never said nothing about it, all that stuff. It's never advertised. It's never said like this is what the car is doing in the background all the time. This is like since like 2000, 2003. They've been doing this. But some of the new systems, like I said, I've been totally disconnected from it. I haven't even looked at brochures or looked at what's available online, or with the newer models. I just know where the company was going. And I think I'm about 2 or 3 years away from my prediction of the windshield having displays on them. And it started coming out. Of course, I think even at the time, I think Corvette had a heads-up display,
Mm-hmm.
little information box there. But what I'm talking about is they're going to have a projection on the windshield inside. It's not like a mirrored projection off a dash. The windshield's going to be a video screen that's transparent,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be able to see your road markings. You're going to be able to see all the signs all in real time on your windshield. So, like if it's raining, you know how hard it is to see the lines on the road.
Yeah.
The windshield's going to be tracking where your eyes are at and be able to relatively put those lines on the windshield display for you to see, like a big HUD. That's where it's going. And I said that back in 2014, 2015 that was coming, and I thought the next couple S classes would seize technology like that. And I don't know if it has. I mean, look to see if it's something like that's out. But
Yeah. But you know
they
what the vehicle I want now is that Volkswagen came out with their new version of the Beetle bus, and they have one that has two electrical motors one for the front wheels and one for the back wheels, and it's like I'm like 400 and some miles to a charge. It's
Wow,
insane. It's like,
that's
I
good.
mean, it's better than gas now. You know, I'm lucky if I get 300 to a tank of gas in my Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I got a large. I think I got a 3.8 or something with dual turbochargers. So I mean, it's it's not a definitive
Yeah,
gas
mine's I
saver.
think is I think it's a 3.5 liter with twin turbos. It gets like 18 miles to the gallon still. It's not very good. But boy, when you want to get on it, it moves.
Oh yeah, I
Uh, you think they'll make flying cars? Yes, they will. And actually, just I think this last week or month, the FAA approved the first flying car. Have you seen that?
yeah, I saw that. That was kind of cool.
They featured it on the new um, Grand Tour. If you watch that it's the old uh, Top Gear guys, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. They did that
Hmm.
Amazon special called Grand Tour.
Hmm.
If you got Amazon Prime, you can check them out. But their latest episode that just came out this last month, they showed that flying car take off of a runway, fly away, and then come back down and land, and everything folds up, and it's a car. And from
I
what I
saw
understand, that car just got FAA approval.
I saw it's like a Winnebago that you like travel cross country, but somehow the wheels fold in. It goes out in the lake, and it's like a lake boat or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've had those amphibious cars for years,
Yeah, I know that, but I'm
but the
thinking,
newer one,
yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
See. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watched that Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson. When the 2007 S Class came out, it came out with an infrared night vision system.
Yeah.
So it had the speedometer is a video screen, and now of course now all these cars are all video screens, you know. But this is back in
Yeah.
2007. They had the big infotainment screen on the side, and then they had a video screen where the speedometer was in the instrument cluster, and you click a button on the option, and it had an infrared camera, and there was two headlight projectors on the front headlights that were infrared, so you never saw them turn on. And people always complain my lights aren't turning on. I'm like, no, they're on, you just can't see it. But the infrared projectors would beam out the light 3 times further than your high beam, and uh, so you get a really good field of view of vision, so you could look at that monitor and drive off of it practically.
Yeah.
But he had this one skit and talking about one of the new Benzes with this infrared night vision, and he goes, now this system will track a human, and it can like put the line around him and tells you where a human body or an animal is. And he goes, I was driving home and there was a paparazzi guy hiding in the bushes, so I saw him, and I thought, well, my targeting system's on him, so I'm trying to steer the car to run this guy over. But then the car's like, no, you're not allowed to run people over, and it steered away.
That's a no-no. Not nice for people over.
Yeah.
Make sure you back up and finish them off.
Yeah. Well, electric cars in the future, if they can get the infrastructure figured out, that's going to be a huge. It's going to be a huge battle for them, I think, if they can, get that figured out. It's got a long ways to go. They have to change battery technology. That's the first one. All the current battery technology is never going to make it, I think, for a sustainability of electric future of cars. Yeah. The other one is, of course, the infrastructure and charging and fast charging and convenience. There's going to become a demand where people are going to want to not wait 30 minutes for a fill up, and if they're going to do it, that they're going to have to figure out a battery technology that works better than what they currently have. I think it's all good stepping stones. I'm all about progress and saving the gasoline for the fun stuff. That's my opinion on it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be. There's no shortage of gasoline or oil, that's for sure. And I'm out here in the oil patch, and I can tell you that firsthand. There's no shortage of this stuff.
Yeah.
How do you make roads and navigations for flying cars? Computers will be in charge 100%. You will not be allowed to fly or drive your car.
Big brothers watching.
Yep, that's the only way that's ever going to happen.
What was that one?
My 2015 car is 100% fully capable of driving itself if they turn the switch on. It's got electric steering. The brakes are already automatic. The throttle's electronic. It can see everything going on around it. In 2015, the S Class that had come out was capable of self-drive, following the lanes, but you had to keep your hands on the wheel. And now that more and more cars are starting to show that capability. I saw just the new GMC truck commercial just, I think this week, said that self-drive, it's coming out, but the computer is going to be in charge. And there's other technologies out there right now that are also talking about how cars communicate. And this is something Benz has been working on a very long time with, is that the ability for two cars to come to an intersection and communicate like aircraft do. So I don't know if you know this, but like aircraft in the air communicate back and forth with each other behind whatever's going on with the pilots. So usually they're on autopilot and everything. So if two aircraft ever get so close to each other, this system tells this aircraft, hey, you've got to go up and you've got to go down. That's what the system automatically does. And the pilots react to that, and they know that that's a law, and they follow it, not like a legal law. Like this computer system so good. If it's telling me to go down, I need to go down, and this one goes up. And it does it automatically with the autopilot so that the planes will not be anywhere near each other in the sky. That same system's coming to cars. They've been working on too, where cars communicate that way to know its intention or know that it's there or know what's happening. And that technology's been there for about 10 years, but it's in R&D still. They haven't, made it public. They haven't tried to bring that stuff together.
Tony, man, Skynet, here we come.
Oh, it's going to be scary because, you won't have control. Have you seen the Jetson, the personal drone?
No.
So there's a drone out there that they advertise. It's called I think it's the Jetson One or something, where it's single cockpit, single seater, four prop drone that you can go fly around like a motorcycle
There you
or
go.
like a buggy. So it's the batteries that kill these things. The electric motors are probably okay. It's the batteries and the expense. Like the cars wear out and they devalue. And where do we put the value at in the cars at long term? That's why I think Japan's got the 10-year rule, don't they?
I think,
Where
yeah.
they replace the cars every 10 years regardless. So no matter what, you're only allowed to have a 10-year-old car. But yeah, there's going to come to a point where we're not owning them anymore. It's going to be subscriptions. That's where it's going. We're going to see cars with you're already seeing that with Tesla, and now Mercedes has also started it. I know that they're offering subscription programs to lease the cars. Instead of paying a lease, you're paying a monthly subscription to own a Benz, and you get your subscription and you can switch out your cars, not at your own free will, but every so often you just switch the car out. That's just, you're paying a subscription. And I think used electric vehicles are going to be highly recyclable, and you're just going to see them switched out all the time.
I mean, they're showing like how fast
Yeah.
how fast electric cars go now. It's like 0 to 60 in like 1.2 or something crazy like that. You're like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah, they're fast. I don't know if we watch that guy Josh Yo on Make Art Now.
Mm.
Have you ever seen his YouTube channel?
No.
Yeah, look him up. He's got some incredible filmmaking stuff he's done. He's actually got a couple of his movies on there called Anamorphia,
Mm-hmm.
and Anamorphia 2. For a YouTuber, phenomenal. Phenomenal work.
Mm-hmm.
Well worth the watch. And all his videos, he does some basic gear review stuff. It's such a high end production, and he does it so well. And he's recently had a kid, so I know he's slowed way down and he moved, but he's still out there doing some videos. But all his stuff's pretty incredible. But I forgot where I was going with that one, but what your comment was to it. But yeah, he the fast Tesla or something. He rented one time. They took it down, and he was gaining and passing 1,000 horsepower Supra.
Jesus.
He mounted that Ronin 4D cinema camera to the front of it, and they were doing high speed chasing with it, filming. And
wow.
Yeah, he was that plaid Tesla or something, and he was sitting there like overpowering this 1,000 horsepower souped up Supra.
Yeah. My brother was building a house for this guy who got that that Mustang Marquis, whatever it is. I think it is. It's their electric
Right.
Mustang,
Right.
and had him install a pad. You pull up on the pad with his car, and we charge the car for you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was like I think he said.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like a wireless charger for your cell phone. You just park on it.
Yeah, I'm like, but I guess it would charge really fast then, But
Mm-hmm.
oh,
No,
man.
it's crazy.
I still enjoy gas though. I don't know. You can find gas everywhere,
I won't be buying anything electric for a long time. The one thing I thought was really cool was the hybrid Ford F-150 with had a 3.5 inch 3.5 liter twin turbo engine in it, which is probably the same engine your Lincoln has in it.
Mm-hmm.
Very fast, very powerful little engine for towing and all that. But the cool thing about that hybrid model was it had a 2800 watt generator built into it.
Hmm.
I mean, pulling an RV camper with an AC, you have to have at least 2,000 watts for a small AC unit to fire up. I mean, you could plug it into your truck and run it,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool. And because I've seen a couple of the new Ford Lightnings, which are the all electric, and they're cool, but I mean, they're saying they get 140 miles on a tank or a full charge.
Yeah,
It's just it's not there yet.
yeah. That's to the drugstore. That's to the grocery store and back, and you're
Yeah.
done.
Well, and a lot of it's just a lot of it isn't so much about what it is. It's the companies putting it out in the world to R&D it. They're saying, hey, here's what we have, available. It's Mercedes did this too, and it was a joint venture problem they did with BMW. I want to say GM, and I want to say it was Chrysler. It must have been Chrysler, or not GM, but there was a fourth company involved, maybe Toyota. But they had a joint venture to make electric vehicles and a new battery technology for hybrids, and it ended up being pushed back way far on Mercedes' part because it was supposed to come out in like 2006, 2007, and it never happened. So in 2011, it finally happened, and Mercedes built 1,770 vehicles, these electric MLs, and they were, they're 5-passenger SUV, had the little 3-liter or 3.5-liter V6 in them still for gas drive. The transmission had the electric motors built into it, and it would do full 100% electric drive up to like 10 or 15 miles an hour, and then the engine would kick on. But and it had a big giant battery in the back of it. It weighed more than its fully loaded counterpart of gas, like with the big. I mean, it was like 1,000 pounds heavier than the counterpart.
Wow.
And it was just a thing saying like, here it is. We said we'd do it. Here it is. But they put them out into the world. They had 1,770 of them built. They only had 2,000 batteries made for these cars. And the only way you got one of these was if you leased it. So when the original 1,700 of them went out to the world in 2011, you could get them on a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease. And anybody that ended up with one got to drive this thing out. And they advertise it as V6 economy with the power of the V8. And it was a quick car, but it weighed 1,000 pounds more, and I don't think it got much better gas mileage. I mean, it got the same mileage as anything else, but they had to say they did it. Well, anyways, I was fortunate enough. We had one of these out of our dealership. I actually had 2 of them. And they only sold 1,700 of them to lease to customers, and the other 70 were used for production R&D by the engineering department and to have out around the country. And I had one guy come in with his, and if every customer that comes in with a problem car and be like, this car is a lemon, I want to buy back, this guy, I want my car fixed. He would not. Mercedes was trying, because Mercedes engineering, everybody didn't want these things in the world. They just had to put them out there because they said they'd do it. And the engineering department's like, oh, it's got a problem? No problem. Bring it in. Pick out any car you want. We'll take care of it. Nope. I want my car fixed. I want this car. So I ended up with it for a while and trying to fix this problem with it at one time. And my tech specialist, my local engineer that come to the dealerships to help me solve the problems I couldn't figure out was there. And he brought one of the pre-production cars, one of the 70, over to me to have. And he goes, well, this is the one that had me driving. So I want his electronic control unit and the DC to DC converter out of that car into mine. So I swap him over, and he goes and leaves in the pre-production with these supposed maybe bad parts. He doesn't get 10 miles on the road, and his car's all jacked up. He goes, I ain't driving it like this. I'm bringing it back. So brings it back. He has me swap these parts back out and put them back in the other, or put them back in his car, get his good parts back to his. And he goes, I'm authorizing you to replace these 2 components right now, Well, they leased this car for $55,000. Was what the lease price of this car was, a sale price. the electronic control box, which was under the hood above the engine, and it had coolant going to all these components. I mean, it was a pain in the ass to change out, and let alone have them come back 10 minutes later and say, "Nah, put it back." all these coolant plumbing everywhere, all this shit. I'm sitting there swapping it back over, and uh, he goes and says, "Go ahead and go order these parts." So I go up to my parts counter, give him the part numbers, and he orders them. And he looks at me and he goes, "You got a authorization for this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "This is $90,000 worth of these two parts for the DC-DC converter and the main control board electronic computer thing was $93,000." And I was like, "Yeah, they want it fixed." But just the cost of it, the sheer cost of what it would cost to fix it, they weren't worth it. That's why Mercedes didn't sell those products. They leased them only, and as soon as there was a problem, they're like, we'll just get you in something else. What do you want?
Yeah.
It was funny. Well, we pushed 3 hours. Let's see, what's your thoughts on the car? That's the Tesla's deal with the subscriptions. That's why I say it's going to be subscription based. I think it's, from a business standpoint, if people are willing to pay it, it's a good idea. Whether or not it's the right thing, probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still ticked off at Adobe for making where now you only get like it's basically you're leasing it like like that.
Yeah, that's why I use Capture One for my main photo editing software, because I can buy it.
Yeah.
I don't like subscriptions. I've never have. I don't like paying monthly for stuff like that, especially stuff that nature, software. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, it's great that they give you all the new updates and stuff, but it adds up over time. It's a big expense if you're not, even if you're making money.
Buy the whole thing, and then
yeah.
What Capture One with Nikon, it lets you with Nikon and Lightroom, you have to you can't just keep the images on the cards and send to the computer. You have to send all the images automatically get sent to the computer, like in Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
Where Capture One, you have a choice to either keep a set in the cards and a set on the laptop, which I like,
Yeah. Yeah, I liked Lightroom for the ease and simplicity. It's the Apple of the software compared to Capture One.
Mm-hmm.
But Capture One is very powerful if you really get into it. And it's, again, like I said earlier in this broadcast, I'm not one that really dives into the editing side of it so much. I just want to move my sliders, make my picture look cool, and I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And, where I've got friends that, do portrait work or do something, and they're doing, high-end, serious, just detail work, and they're learning the intricacies of the software to figure it all out.
Yeah.
That's just not fun to me. I like the adventure of going to get the photo.
You got the right preset, you can do anything.
Well, these AI tools, the AI tools, like Adobe was showing, like Adam, or I think it was Adobe. I don't even know which software it was. I saw an ad on one of these YouTube videos. It was like, "Oh, you want yellow road lines?" And it's like, type in yellow road lines, and boom, there's yellow road lines in the middle of the road. You're like, really?
Well, dude, I think
it's about done. Just to answer this question, it is, these cars these days are fully capable of producing this. It's the fact that over all of the time that cars have been going, they've made carburetors that can get 80 miles to the gallon in a car. Now, you may not have very much power doing that, but and there's been technology out there that's been, if you really research and dig into this rabbit hole, there's gentlemen that have made stuff like this and they disappear. All of a sudden they get killed in a car accident. Their lab burns down, stuff like that. It's the oil companies just not wanting to give up that sale of 20 miles to the gallon. We've slowly reached 30 miles to the gallon, but It's what we're getting now is better economy out of way more horsepower. They haven't given up that 30 miles to the gallon. It's like, oh, you can have 450 horsepower now, but you're still going to get 25, 30 miles to the gallon. But you can definitely make 120 horse, 150 horsepower car that'll cruise 60, 70 miles an hour down the highway and get 100 miles to the gallon.
I picked up my wife a Nissan Rogue, and
Mm-hmm.
we were averaging like even at 75, 80 miles an hour driving to upper UP. Um, I was still hitting 30 miles to the gallon. It was nuts, you know?
Yeah, it's Mercedes made a diesel engine in 2004 in their E-Class. It's an inline 6-cylinder turbo diesel, 3 liter, and all day long, 50 miles to the gallon.
Jesus.
No problem. On the open highway, 50 miles a gallon, no problem. I drove it through cities, commuting in it for a while for a customer, and I was easily getting 40 every day going to work.
Huh.
And a powerhouse too. Like if you got on it on a light, man, it was a torquey little son of a bitch, and it would get up and go.
So your
It says
next.
the Adobe Firefly is insane. Let's see, thinks that's what it's called. You can color grade, correct, and edit, and do so much more. Yeah, I think some of these new AI softwares are just too much.
Yeah, the that Luminar Neo, man. It's like the editing for like retouching skin and making eyes bigger and thinning the face, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, what the heck, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It. Yeah, it's all you can say is it's Skynet. It's gonna be a
If Arnold shows up at my door, I know things have gone terribly wrong.
right.
All you can do is run. You can't kill him.
And the thing you're talking about the oil companies, yeah, there was, like I said, I'm out in this business. I'm not directly affiliated or tied with oil companies. I just service equipment they use, and um, there was no slowdown out here. Not during COVID. There was no. It basically didn't exist down here. We had it only existed at WalMarts and Targets and stuff, and in town where you had to follow the rules. But out here, it wasn't a thing out here. It's weird because I watched different parts of the country and how restrictive they were. Like you were not allowed to do this, or if you had this type of job, you could go to work. Or there was none of that, nothing like that down here.
Mm.
No pressure to be pushed, no nothing. It was just go to work every day and do your job and go home.
Yeah, I have to admit, I ended up getting COVID. It was rough. It
Yeah,
was not
we
fun.
got it. We got well. I think I maybe had it once, but my daughter was the first one out of school to test positive for it, which meant at the time it was an instant 2 weeks off, which just happened to be the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving break. So I got like 3 weeks off. And yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, all right, cool. That happened twice. But
I ended up getting it twice. It was like nuts, and the both times relatives came to my house. One and the one time I got it, the other members of the family were like old, and they're like the top 10 list of people that weren't supposed to get COVID, and they didn't get it. I got it. It's like, yay me.
yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm from Connecticut, and everyone needs to wear masks and work remote. So I am in West Texas. That's as local as I'll usually get. But uh, there's an oil patch out here that's very prominent. And if you follow that kind of business, you'll know where I'm at. But but yeah, it was out here. There's no doubt. There's people out here that it was a real thing.
Yeah.
But business as usual to me. I mean, to go to work every day. The only thing different to me at work was we weren't allowed to have customers get out of the truck. We had to just ride them up through their window, and they didn't have to sign the paperwork, and we unloaded them. That was the only difference.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's I feel fortunate that I lived in Texas during that time compared to the other parts of the country and everything that was going on. It was really saddening to see like the rioting and the all the problems that stemmed from everything that year. And I'm very fortunate where I lived, and um, yeah, it just wasn't good for anybody, and we're still feeling the effects of it.
Yeah.
But it's what's crazy is like the distributor, the company I work for is a distributor for a major brand, and we have to deal with long lead times and product supply shortages still to this day. Um, that just is not fixed, and I'm like, to me, it's like, well, they're saying they're recording record profits. I'm like, well, yeah, because you say you're shipping out everything, but you can't keep up, but we're not getting anything out. But apparently, the way the numbers are working is they've tripled their output from pre-COVID, and they're still a year out on products. It's taken that long, and most of it's material supply. And then the other thing that didn't help my industry and some of the stuff I deal with is a lot of the stuff I was dealing with in one part of my industry is coming out of Ukraine. And when the Ukraine war started,
That
uh,
much.
that all went away, and that didn't help things either.
Yeah.
There was a lot of manufacturing of componentry and metal parts out of Ukraine, and
Huh.
that has hindered certain aspects of my industry quite heavily for the last year and a half. So yeah, it's just supply chain issues are my biggest problem I have is just finding stuff. And it's like you'll like, I need this, and they're like, well, we have 200 of them on a shelf, but they're missing XYZ part, and they won't ship until they have that. And it's like, well, I got XYZ part on my shelf, can't you just give me what you got? But doesn't work that way.
Well, it was like during COVID as well. What a good time to redo my deck and everything, but wood and everything went so off the hook that you know, I said, I'm gonna push that back a little bit. Finally got it done, but
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, Trixie. Yeah, the I don't know, it's definitely been a different world since then.
yeah.
I don't think it'll ever be the same, but it's scary in the future what the future might hold.
Mm. Well,
It's,
dude,
the
I'm gonna
scary
pack
part is
this.
just how easily it all happened.
Yeah.
So prepare for yourself. That's all I can say. So, well, hey, I really appreciate it, Cooley. Thanks for coming on tonight. And
Yeah. I would have been here sooner. The dogs were a little not cooperating going outside. So,
yeah, so we're going to wrap it up tonight. And thank you, everybody, for coming in and
there
joining
you
again.
go.
Yeah, I got the music going. Yeah.
All right,
So
man.
have a good night, Cooley. Thanks for
All right.
stopping
Have
by. I'll
fun.
see you
See you
see
next
you out there in
Monday
the
or whenever you do
in the
one. All right.
interweb world where we're out there in. So yeah, you have a good one.
Later, Gator. Bye.
See ya. So, good night, everybody. This will be it for me tonight. Join me live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Central. And if you're in the show tonight, I appreciate you stopping by and saying hi, chatting, whatever it is got going on. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week. In the meantime, there will be a schedule coming out here hopefully soon where there's a group of us that get together throughout the week and chat on different platforms. So this is my time right here on at 9 p.m. on Monday nights, but there's the shows out there throughout the week that I'm hoping to have a schedule for you guys soon to kind of see others that do this kind of same stuff I do. So you guys have a good night. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Good night. So I'll answer this real quick. Sweet, what platforms? No, it's on YouTube still. It's a similar live platform with the StreamYard, to different channels. Um, AP Studios is one of them, which there's something going on there. I'll leave it at that. And then I joined in on Thursday nights. You can find Robert Silver Photography on YouTube. He's got a live stream Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Sometimes he opens it up to the panel like I have here, and other nights he doesn't, but it's always a good time over there. So we'll see you around. Have a good night.